former Secret Service agent, there's things that we can and cannot talk about. So I grab a blank CD and I'm like, and we got you on cameras. My partner's like, so he breaks right then. He just spills it. And of course, this is evidence now, right? Like how I got the confession. My first years in the jail, I would recommend working in the jail to anybody that wants to go into law enforcement for a certain amount of time. Like even if it was just 6 months, it would be a requirement. Why? Because it teaches you how to really talk to people, how to diffuse situations with just words instead of like calling out the cell extraction team or something, you know, because somebody's riled up, getting people to calm down, you know, and you're talking to people from all walks of life.
Right.
Because like, as you know, like not everybody in jail is a bad person. Some people have just made mistakes, but they come from like the very, desolate of the poverty level to, million some dollar a year people that, have committed some sort of fraud or something worse. And you're dealing with all the blocks. You're dealing with A block, which is, like some misdemeanors and stuff like that. A B block is all of the felonies, like B6 or B5 was, like murderers. And then you had this this block called J block, which is the keep separates, which are like transvestites, pedophiles. And you had to talk to these people, even if you don't agree with who they are as a person, you had to talk to them and be able to relate to them, right? Because you need them to not act a fool in there, right? So I'd put that on anything, and I think that's helped me throughout my career of knowing how to talk to people, meet somebody where they're at, and talk with them.
I feel like a lot of the sheriffs that or the deputy I've talked to, they tend to start them in the jails. Mm-hmm. Like they, first of all, most of them, I think it's because like it's not like a position they want. So it's kind of like, hey, you got to pay your dues. You got to be in the jail for a year or two. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of them, they end up going in the jail. Some of them like it. I mean, we interviewed this one guy who was like, I didn't want to leave. It's like 5 years. They kept saying, do you want to go on the street? He's like, no, I'm good here. I like it here.
Right.
But yeah, I think most of the sheriffs in Florida, they start you in the jail.
Yeah, that's pretty common with most sheriff's departments. Typically, it's like a feeder program or a farm system,
right?
Because they can control the environment in there.
Yeah.
Like they can control your environment and what you do and what you're involved in. Out on the street, people that don't have that integrity or don't have the good common sense like you and I've talked about, or, just aren't good decision makers, overall, like they have loose reins right out there, and it's harder to control that. In the jail,
yeah, at least they're gonna mess up. They mess up in the jail. You can watch the whole thing. You got cameras. You've got them under control. And better they screw up with an inmate than they screw up with some school teacher who they pulled over in a car and she's being belligerent.
Well, not necessarily better they screw up with the inmate, right? Because like these are people too. I hear what you're saying, but they can monitor what you're saying about monitor. They can monitor it closer and then properly mentor them. And you really learn when deputies in the jail if they have what it takes to be out on the street, or if they're a jail deputy, mm-hmm. right? And some people choose, like you said, but some people want to get out and they're like, they're not getting out. We're going to keep them inside, But, like I said, was making no money. Did not work like working in the jail. I did a year in the jail, and then I went out to a hybrid patrol court system, or assisted hybrid patrol in court position, where I would do patrol so many days, and then sometimes I would be inside and I would work the dockets in the courtrooms. Also a great learning tool because you hear everyone's, especially like when you went over to probate and you're dealing with child cases and you're standing there in a courtroom over like a divorce case and you hear some of the pettiness, mm-hmm. right? It really kind of gives you an overall feel for things. But like not making money and not loving jail life, I started applying other places. And I went at 25, I got hired by the Southfield Police Department. Now, the Southfield Police Department is on the north border of Detroit. Great department, like 160 officer department, fast paced. We had a great chief at the time who has since passed away. Like we went there, I went from the sheriff's department where they didn't give you much anything. We went there and they were like issuing us 4 different guns, a rifle, a shotgun, a pistol, and an off-duty pistol. Right off the bat, they're like departments don't really issue off-duty guns, right? Well, they did, and then they had a very loose, not loose, but well articulated PIT policy. And PIT is precision immobilization technique or tactic. So it's when you see the cars coming up and the police car pops them on the back
pit
corner.
maneuver.
Pit maneuver, yes. So the pit maneuver, like, as long as you could articulate and show that they're showing willful and wanton disregard for public safety, you could pit them. So, but you better make sure that you can articulate like what they were doing throughout. That's why good report writing is so important. Because, all right, so he ran an intersection and there's cars stopping and honking. Like he could have hit 3 different cars. It's rush hour, right? We needed to stop the pursuit. And we had concerns that if we just stopped, that person, like they often do, keeps going fast, right? And then ends up getting in an accident down the way. I've had that where like we stopped and car T-bones another car and people have like dislocated shoulders and blown out knees and flipped over. And well, we stopped the pursuit. So at Southfield Police Department, 13 years there. And I had a great career there. I had 8 years as a detective. And my last 2 years was as a FBI Violent Crimes Task Force officer.
What kind of detective?
So I started out, it's just like working in the jail, just like any position, like they train you up.
Right.
So I started out doing warrants. I started chasing warrants. So anybody that got arrested the night before when I came in the morning, I'd have a stack of cases that I'd have to work, may have to go re-interview them to get more information because the patrol officer, was lacking something in the report. And then I would go and I would seek the warrant with the prosecutor's office or the city attorney and get them arraigned. And that's what I would do every day. That trained you up. Then I went to, I got moved from that after a year to property crime, to computer fraud. So I did not love computer fraud at all.
Why?
It's just
that seems like fun.
Well, from a former financial guy, that would be fun. From a guy that liked to run the streets, it wasn't so fun. And it's a lot of work, right? And little did I know it was foreshadowing that when I became a Fed, that's what I'd be doing a lot of.
Right.
So did okay there. Another detective that came back from the DEA task force and was working property crimes, so breaking and entering, commercial B&Es and stuff like that, took me under his wing. He took it upon himself to start mentoring me. Well, we had like this big string of commercial B&Es. Like nobody was solving this stuff, right? And so he took it on when he came over and he grabbed me to work it with him because there were so many of them. And we were trying to figure out who did it. And we went out, we did all kinds of surveillance, all kinds of stuff like that, and ended up catching the guy. And as a result, our lieutenant who had me, I was still in financial and computer, moved me to property crimes.
How'd you catch the guy?
Just surveillance and building it up. It was a lot of surveillance, a lot of watching movements, like, movement of life type stuff. And it ended up being a pill addict. He was popping pills and he was breaking in to make money. But he was good for like 18 commercial B&Es, like a 6-month period, to get money for his pills, for his bars and stuff. So yeah, we ended up catching him just by, well, first some was evidence, right? Like processing and it comes back, and then we have to try to figure out where he is, and then surveillance, and then we get him on his movements and stuff like that. So it's just movement of life. And then so they moved me to B's, and that's where I really started to flourish because now I was more in my element. I was more of a street detective. Mm-hmm. And not a behind the desk detective. So I was out there talking to people. I was looking for stuff. Moving into this spot in property crimes B&Es is what really launched the trajectory of my career. At the time, I was kind of just spinning my wheels.
As America turns 250 this year, it has me thinking about the people that really helped build this country. Not the ones in history books. I'm talking about American ranchers. The men and women who wake up before the sun, work long days, and keep food on our tables year after year. That's exactly why I like Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers honors that legacy by only sourcing their meat from local American farmers and ranchers. Everything from the pasture to the final seal on the box is done right here in America. I'm actually a Good Ranchers subscriber myself. In fact, my wife and I had the chicken nuggets last night and they were amazing. And that's not the only thing they have. They have steak, chicken, seafood, and more. And all of it is amazing quality. If you want to support American ranchers and get great meat at the same time, now's the time to try it. Subscribe today and get free meat plus $100 off your first 3 orders. That's $40 off your first order and $30 off your next 2. Just use my code INSIDE. That's goodranchers.com. American meat delivered.
And so I get this case. I'm at a training session in this city called Troy, which is near Detroit also. And I get in the car and I hear on the radio there's this commercial robbery at a jewelry store in Southfield. And so I let dispatch know that I'm coming from Troy. I report right to the scene, get the video and all these things. And at the time, because the reason why I reported right there right away and didn't waste any time, because there was this string of jewelry stores getting hit with robberies throughout Detroit. Now, this is...
What kind of robbery? Are these like
so
takeover?
smash and grabs.
Okay.
So they were coming in with sledgehammers and they were breaking breaking the glass on like Rolex dealers, Jared jewelry, stuff like that.
Or is this like a mob or like 4 guys working together?
Well, this one was 4 guys.
Okay.
All right. But it ends up being a whole gang faction from Detroit, what it becomes.
Okay.
So we have one in Southfield. So I go right there. And now this is a time in law enforcement in the United States still where the social media was not really a big thing. And that's going to show itself in the investigation shortly too. And that social media was not really a thing, and communicating with other departments was a thing. They're like, yeah, we know you have a similar incident, but this is our case. We're not sharing, right? So I'm trying to figure this stuff out. A day later, guys with the same description hits a Jared Jewelers on the north end of the county, okay? So I had ended up talking to my sergeant, and I get approval, and I hold a fusion meeting at our police department, something that doesn't happen. Now, a fusion meeting is where you invite all the agencies that have had an incident or want to learn about them to come share information. And they're like, this is a time where this stuff doesn't happen. And my boss was like, wow, man, this guy's innovative. And I was like, no, I'm just trying to solve a damn case. Right. So I have all these different agencies come in, and I get up and I give, to break the ice, I give like a 10, 15 minute spiel of our case. And I, because at that point I had gotten reports from all these other departments, and that's when I saw there was a legitimate crime trend. Like, these are the same handful to a dozen guys that are doing this every time, same descriptions, everything like that. So I invite people to get up and talk about their case and share it, and I just open forum. And I had a sign-in sheet, and we send it out to everybody so everybody can communicate. And what happened was I end up catching one of the guys. Well, I didn't catch him. The Auburn Hills Police Department caught one of the guys fleeing the scene. And I got a hold of him, and I brought him to Southfield Police Department to arraign him on ours. And when I did, I interviewed him. And this guy, he, if we were out on the street, or if we were watching the game together, we'd be chopping it up. Like, you would not know that he was about that life.
Right.
But he was, like, he had several gun charges, some violent crime on his record and stuff like that. But when we would talk, it'd just be like you and I talking, right? And so we're talking, and he proceeds to tell me in the interview everything about their MO, about what they do and how they're doing them out of state too, and how they're renting cars.
What about the code? What?
I'm going to get to that too in a second. I'm going to get to
Okay.
that about the code. All right. So he's telling us about the cars, that they'll rent a car and they'll steal a car when they get there. So they'll rent a car, like the boss will drive in their own car. They rent a car to take there and out of state. And when they get there, they steal a car, and the stolen car is the one they use in the robbery. The rental is the getaway. So they'll drive to the location in the stolen, go in, smash all the glasses. Jared Jewelers at the time was, they had the same floor plan nationwide. So it was super easy for these guys. These guys knew.
Yeah.
Like, they would send somebody a week or two ahead of time to scout it. And typically, like, guy, girl, so it looks like a couple. And then they would come back a couple weeks later to a month later, and they would rob the place.
Yeah,
and they
this
would
is
cross the
pretty
country.
sophisticated for you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, a street gang.
yeah, for a street gang, like that's
Well, that's because the OGs were running it.
Okay, the
So
older, yeah.
the guys that were in their 30s were running it. The guys going in were either like a 17, 16, 17, 18-year-old or someone in their late 20s that are down on their luck. Okay. So
The guys that are dumb enough to do it. Like if you're
Yes.
40 years old, you're like, I'm not. What are you nuts? I'm not
Yes.
doing. It's crazy.
Right. And
I
so
could go to jail for 20 years on that. No.
yeah, and so you would get, you get the guys that go in making $1,000 to $2,000 for their rip with their faces on camera and stuff like that. The guy sitting 3 blocks away in the car calling the shots is making like 60 to 100,000, right? So he would tell me how this worked and then how they would come back to Detroit and that they did the same MO every time. And he even talked about some places he had gone to, like in Ohio, Indiana, and then he starts giving me some information on these guys that are with him. And here's the code part, right? So I ask him at the end, I'm like, you're facing serious time, right? Because of your rap sheet. Why are you telling me all this? He's like, well, detective, he goes, this is how I see it. And he goes, out on the street, everybody's going to talk about how they don't talk, all right? But when you're getting ready to go in, everybody's going to talk.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go.
Yeah. You're best talking first.
Yeah.
You know?
The first one to the table is the first one to eat, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's a long-standing saying. First to the table is the first to eat, right?
And now every one of these guys that gets knocked off, if he was facing 20 years and 25 guys or 15 guys get knocked off, it's like if I just get a year from each one of these guys, I could be out of here in 2 or 3 years with some good time, or maybe not have to go at all.
Right. So I'm working this case. He starts to identify people for me right around that time because of that case and another quote unquote unsolvable case that I had with the police department that was a gun shop / range that was knocked off, and they stole like 22 rental guns.
That's the problem.
In my case, we recovered 9 of them, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually really good odds.
Yeah.
When they disappear and stuff like that, and caught the 2 guys responsible, all off of informant information. That kind of trajected me into this position where they started a position with the FBI, their Violent Crimes Task Force, and I interviewed for it. And of course, I had all these big cases, and they're like, "Yep, number 1 on the list out of 10 or whatever." Right? So I go to the FBI task force, and I take this case with me, this interstate robbery case. Now it's called the Hobbs Act robbery. Hobbs Act robbery is interstate robbery.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go out of state and you rob the place, whether with sledgehammers, whatever, and you bring it back to Michigan or any other state, that's interstate.
Yeah, you're changing jurisdictions to evade detection. That's in the federal system. That's an enhancement.
Yeah, that's an enhancement. Now you're a big boy. Now you're dealing with the feds instead of the locals. Right. So I bring that case, and I'm still working on it. And I mean, from there, I learned.
But the guy, you have all the information from the guy.
Yeah.
That one guy that's not enough to go out and just kind of scoop everybody up, or you need to do surveillance to build the case.
You got to do surveillance. But what I learned was he was just part of one. The ringleaders had several crews.
Oh, so he just knows his crew.
Yeah. And he knows there's other guys out there, but he knows his crew, and that's who he's talking on.
Right.
So there's several crews. And when I got to the Fed task force, I realized that this wasn't just a Detroit thing with like maybe a little in Ohio, maybe a little in Indiana. This was nationwide. This covered 21 states. And it was, and we were averaging, when I got there and we started tracking it, we were averaging with the same MO, 2 to 3 robberies a week throughout the country. Like, let's say they would.
And these guys are just getting away with none of them are getting arrested except for this one guy?
No. I mean, occasionally, like in a local department, let's say like Cincinnati or Chicago or something like that, they would grab one of the guys that in a foot chase.
Right.
But they didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they've got him for 1 robbery.
Right, and they got him for 1.
Right, maybe.
And
Especially if they caught him walking out of the place, they don't have him. If they caught him 3 blocks down, he might have a chance of beating it. I mean, especially state.
And the thing with like interview and interrogation is you got to know something, right? Like you can't. They don't know anything. They have nothing to try to work this guy on,
right,
or girl, depending on the robbery, and you got to know something. So that's where we came in. We started tracking this stuff. And in the process, I'm still working on this guy's crew while we're starting to track the whole country. And what broke his crew open, because we couldn't find a bunch of the guys, right? They were, they were off grid basically. They were still doing what they're going to do, but their burner phones, social media was not huge yet, right?
Right.
So I mean, this is like 2012 time, 2012, 2013. I go on the task force in 14. So this is the time when this has happened. You think about in 2000, I think it was like 2012 or 2009, for Facebook, you still had to have a college email to be on to get a Facebook account. So, it was a different time, right? Like it wasn't what it is now where people just live off of social media. So what I did was I found one of the guys. His street name was Bullet. So, which
creative.
Yeah, very creative, right? So I find him on Instagram, and this is how we got him, because this was still very new, and obviously AI is not a thing yet. So I create a profile, undercover profile, digital profile of this girl that lives in the Southfield area that is homeschooled, so she doesn't have to know anybody. And her parents, she's Thai, so this is very stereotypical, but her parents owned a dry cleaner
Right.
in Southfield, right? And she wouldn't talk much about it, but she befriends him. And so the guy, the Bullet at the time, he was a little bit of an entrepreneur, but didn't have any sense behind it. And he was doing these T-shirts, right? And he was doing these T-shirts like that says, like,
No.
"I'm so Detroit."
You still have a T-shirt?
Yeah. And so, because I bought one.
Right.
And while we were doing the investigation,
Right.
right? And so he's selling these T-shirts, and they're just hot fire in Detroit. Like everybody's wearing them on their socials, especially in the hood, right? And so I used this Thai girl that all I did was I went on Google at the time, and I Googled attractive Asian women on social media, and
Right.
and and I pieced together like a handful that looked like each other.
Yeah.
Right. Or like, had half the face, but all like very voluptuous.
Not that they all look alike.
Here we go back to these stereotypes, right? Right. Yeah. But no, but like all very voluptuous, all like huge, nice size racks, big asses,
exactly what Bullet's looking for.
Exactly what Bullet's looking
in an
for.
Asian chick. Yeah.
And I start hollering at him a little bit. Like I just friend him. Like now, as a UC digital, like there's only so much you can communicate before you're crossing the line. So I was very, very vague in everything, even in like my interest in him as a 17-year-old female.
Right.
Okay. So, and that's what I said. I was 17, right? And so he's like 26. He's all about it, right? Because he's in his mind he's gonna go to town on this chick.
You're saying 17. You're trying to get him a statutory rape charge too?
Well,
Throwing in.
I don't think that would stick when
Right.
he tried to bang out a digital minor.
Right.
Like I mean that may work for like the pedophiles and stuff like that for when they get him to meet, but so. Then that wasn't the angle. We wanted to find him,
right?
Because he had a significant history too, and his name's Bullet, so he typically carries a gun,
right?
And he was kind of like OG status, but he was not the smart OGs. He was the go out there and do the work OG.
This whole thing is to get what? To get him to show up somewhere?
To find him, because he's off radar all the time. Like burner phones, everything
right.
like that.
So at some point you want to arrange a meeting for him to show up at McDonald's.
We want to arrest him.
Yeah. The whole thing.
And so what I did was I ended up giving him my number, which was just a Google Voice number, right? Mm-hmm. And of course he messages me right away, what's up, girl, all this stuff, right? And so, I'm a little he, ha, 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 I like the shirts, can I get one from you, and stuff like that. And he's like, bet, let's do it. And he's like, this is
the lingo.
Yeah. He's like, this is where I live. And side note, funny thing was, so my supervisor on the task force would make fun of me and this is super stereotypical, because when I would do the voices of my suspects, whether it was Chaldean, Black, Asian. For some reason, I would go to this mindset where I'm actually them.
Right.
And I would do this like accent.
No, saying. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I would do this like
So you're playing all the parts.
Oh yeah, like the Middle Eastern. Like all of a sudden I start talking like this Middle Eastern accent. He's like, when did you become Iraqi?
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't even realize I was doing that. What are you talking about? So
do you ever feel strange when it's 10:30 at night and you're laying in bed texting this guy as an Asian girl? Oh, you crazy. You ever feel like, I'm sorry, this is not feeling super heterosexual right now. Like, oh, I love your gold teeth. Or no, what do you say?
Well, that's funny because like my wife at the time used to get so annoyed because I'd be in bed at 11 o'clock on Instagram like messaging these dudes, right? It's just like, when do you stop? I'm like, when they stop.
Right.
When they stop is when I stop because we're trying to solve the case.
My parents are coming in. I got to be quiet. I got to go to sleep now. They're telling me to get off Instagram.
Yeah. So this guy, idiot that he is, thinking with his dick instead of his brain that he really didn't have anyway, he tells me where to come find him so he can sell it to me. And it's his house.
Right.
Because he thinks he's going to line this chick up.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you've got him thoroughly convinced.
Yeah. So we go sit on his house. He comes out. We end up grabbing him. We already have a search warrant for his house to go in there, get all kinds of like proceeds and stuff like that. And he, of course, because he was selling these, so this is like the information for a court of how we developed the case. There's stacks of them in there, so we're taking pictures of that stuff. And
did he tell you? Can you please go on Instagram and tell Mei Ling that I won't be emailing her anymore?
He was smart enough to figure that out. He was smart enough to figure out that the girl was not real.
We had, Tom Simon had a guy who'd been hiding out in Mexico. He convinces him, and he's like 60-something years old, to fly in to, I forget where it was, but to fly in to take part in a documentary because he was the salsa king at like 20 years earlier or something. And he says, can you fly in and be a part of this documentary? And he was like, absolutely. So he flies in from Mexico, and when they arrest him, he's taking him back to the FBI headquarters, the guy says, listen, is there any way you can swing by this area and tell these people I'm not going to be able to be interviewed? Well, it was Tom Simon the whole time. He's like, you know what? I'm going to let him know. He's still, even then, he had no idea that.
Just not bright.
No.
Yeah, just not bright. Speaking of Tom, so I know Tom too. Like,
Right.
Tom introduced us, and I was talking to him about how, your episode, like how he talks about giving a kidney.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
His response to me, he was like, he knew that I was coming on in like 3 weeks. He's like, well, you got 3 weeks to figure out how to harvest an organ to match my energy. I was dying. I was laughing. I was like crazy.
Listen, he, the first time I met Tom, and then we did a podcast, and he left. Like, I thought, I know exactly who this guy is. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's FBI through and through. He's straight and narrow. And then every episode we've done since, he'll say something. He'll do something that I'll be like, oh, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. Either on camera or off camera, he'll just say things that you're like, oh, wow, he's got a much darker sense of humor than I thought. Right. Or he'll say something funny, or and then, listen, the kidney thing came so out of the blue. He was tearing up. I'm tearing, because I can't imagine doing it. Right. But I also am very, very aware that I'm an extremely selfish prick. So I'm really concerned about me. But the idea that he did it, and I didn't expect it from him either. So I'm not saying that, I had this rosy, that he's this hugely giving person. So the fact that it came out of nowhere, I was just not expecting it. And then when he's telling me about it, he tears up, and then I tear up. And it was like I was so just really kind of irritated at him, because I'm like, this guy, every time we get together, things are happening. He's a much, much more complex, deeper, more interesting person than the person I originally met. I mean, I just can't imagine. Like, he just reads an article and decides to do some research and just convinces himself this is the thing to do. And I just thought, wow, like, that's amazing. That's Yeah, it was really, and he was all torn up about it too. He was torn up because she eventually passed away, and he was, but he gave her what, like 9 additional years of life. That was only 9 years ago too.
It's huge though.
Yeah, it's not like he did this when he was 20 and you're kind of stupid. You're 25 years old and you're just kind of an idiot. And this is 9 years ago.
Yeah, he's like 40 years old.
Yeah, you're a grown man. He acts like it's really not a big deal. I don't know. I feel like any surgery is kind of a big deal. I'm not volunteering to get
especially
cut
if you're
off.
giving away one of your organs.
Yeah, that seems like a big deal.
Right.
But I'm sorry, you were saying anyway. So the guy he's telling you to please message Mei Ling and tell her that I won't be able to.
He never said that, but he knew right away that he was had, and he figured out he's just one of those like type of things. Like didn't say anything, and he was not a talker. Like he was street through and through. He'd been through so many times, which brings me back to the initial part of the case with the guy that gave that guy got screwed by the prosecutor's office.
The original guy?
Yeah. Now we talked about how you and your situation, how you helped with information. Yeah. And they kept saying not enough. And then they said, like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, when you were telling me that, I was like, I got one for you too.
Oh, okay.
So this guy, and we're not even going to go with the name because I'll forget it because I'm not going to use his real name, right? So the prosecutor on that case, no, not Bullet, the initial guy. All right, Bullet is just.
Oh no, you're right.
There's like 100 bullets out there, so I could say
the
Bullet.
OG.
Yeah,
right.
So the initial guy that got caught and gives me the MO for the case. All right, now he's got a history. All right, and so now we're in the court segment. We're in the judicial segment, and the prosecutor, huge ego, man. And I told him like, this guy's cooperative. Now as well as I do from what you've been through that as agents or officers, we cannot make you a promise. Right. But we can say like, hey, we'll let them know that you've been cooperative, and what you provided. And that could come into play when they relay that to the judge. But I can't tell you what I can get for you. That's right. Totally illegal. So I'm telling the prosecutor, I'm like, help this guy out. Like he's basically blown this case wide open, not only locally, but nationally for us. And prosecutor's like, all right, well, the defense attorney was, she was a bitch. She was like, she was very, and I don't know if she's playing a role or if she actually felt this way, but that like all black people are oppressed and the man's trying to hold them down. And any conversation, she's brandishing the sword, even outside of court. It's always fight or flight, and she was always wanting to fight, even if you're just having a conversation about their clients in the case in the hallway or in chambers.
Prosecutor did not like her.
Then they hated each other. So
this is not the person this guy wants representing him.
No. And he actually even told, so he's in our lockup in Southfield for the court for his next hearing. And I go and talk to him. And like I said, we had a really nice rapport where like, if circumstances are different in life, like we could watch the game together. He was just a nice dude, even though he's done bad things.
Right.
And he's like, Snarey, man, he's like, do I need to get a new attorney? I'm like, I can't tell you that.
Right.
I can't tell you that you should or should not, but I can tell you that things don't seem to be going the way that you want to go.
Right.
And things don't seem to be going the way that I would hope they would go. And you need to make decisions for yourself how you want to move forward. But I can't tell you that you need one or not. So he already knew, his gut was telling him.
Yeah.
Right. That this attorney's screwing him. Because her ego is, I'm going to fight this prosecutor. So long story short, the kid ends up getting 18 years on a smash and grab because he had a prior possession of a firearm and he had a prior robbery. But with the amount of information he gave us, there's no way this kid should have gotten 18 years. Right. I think he was 19 at the time. He's going away for a big chunk of his adult life. Right? All the fun years of the 20s and 30s, he's not going to see. And I was pissed. Because and I can't lie on the stand.
Yeah.
So the prosecutor to drive it home gets me on the stand and I told him, I'm like, I don't want to do this. This guy cooperated. And he's like, well, we need to do it for the case. And he has me get on the stand and proceeds to have me tell the court about the kid's gang affiliation, which is an enhancement, right?
Right.
His gang affiliation, the documentation that he's in a gang markings on him and all that stuff. And yeah, he got 18 years because of it. And we walked out of there and, he's making small talk with me. I was pissed. I told him off, the prosecutor. I'm like, he helped us and you fucked him.
Right.
Because you don't like that defense attorney. He's like, oh, I know you see it that way and stuff like that. But, I'm like, there's no maybes, ifs, or whats. Like, I've done this enough time. I've been in enough courtrooms to know that you fucked him because you hate her.
Right.
Right. So back to the big one, right? So now we have a U.S. attorney, assistant U.S. attorney assigned to the case because it is just run and gun, like 2 to 3 a week. And what happens is I have a partner from the FBI. We're working the case hand in hand, and the task force is contributing considerable hours to the case at this point. Like I said, this case spanned 21 states, and it was so big that the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Michigan in Detroit had never worked a case in recent history that had this amount of indictments in such a short period. So typically, as like a federal investigation, including the judicial segment, could take years.
Yeah.
Right. And it usually does take years. We were knocking out affidavits and, we had our grand jury and affidavits and subsequent affidavits weekly and getting warrants on guys weekly. And the assistant U.S. attorney even said, he's like, I have never worked this fast on a case in my life. I've never had one this fast paced. He's like, it's insane that at the federal level, this is moving this quick. And we were like, we were putting trackers on cars. We were doing surveillance. We were going out of state. And the FBI, in their infinite wisdom in this situation, I'm just a lowly task force officer.
Yeah.
Somebody get arrested in North Carolina or Denver or something like that, or California. And instead of having a local agent go and do the interview, they would send me. Because who knows the case like me? Nobody.
Right.
So I'm basically somebody else. I'm just giving them a script of what's going on, and they're going to go and interview. And if it veers off in the left field, with information, that agent or task force officer is not really going to know what to do with it, right? But myself and my partner, we knew exactly what to do. So we're flying all over the country, like week in and week out. And that's where things really got heated because I was able to develop an informant on the case. Now, most of my career, I would say, in law enforcement, 25 years, or whatever, however long your career is, most police officers, whether a patrol officer or detective, will be fortunate enough, even in big cities, will have 1 or 2 major cases. And I'm talking about complex crime, organized crime, more than 1 or 2 defendants, right? Like several, large scale, maybe 1, maybe 2, all right? I've been fortunate enough in my career from local to the feds, even with the Secret Service, where half the time I'm doing protection. I've been fortunate enough that I've had 5 and I'm on my 6th. Right. So, and almost all of it, like 4 of the cases have involved informants. So I don't know if it's good police work or just dumb luck, right? Where
I think 95% of cases get solved because of informants or people cooperating.
Confidential defendants or confidential informants.
Yeah, of course, because how do you know what's happening, who was involved? You can't reverse time. You can't go back and sit in a room. 2 months ago, people have to explain these are the 5 people that are involved. Here's what he did. And how much time does that save you? Okay, you're gonna pull all the bank records, all the There's only so much law enforcement can do as opposed to having an inside guy that can say, he was here, he was here, he was here. You can go. Then you can go that camera, pull the footage from that camera, pull that guy's PayPal account. Otherwise it's the amount of information you would have to sift through is outrageous.
Outrageous, right?
You'd have to quadruple law enforcement.
And 95, 98% of the time, it's somebody within the organization that they've been done wrong. They feel like they're getting slighted. They're not getting the responsibility they want. Somebody took their girl, and they're just like, all right, they go scorched earth. They're like, fuck you.
Right.
And so they want to get it done. Or confidential defendants, they've been arrested and they start informing, or they've been hemmed up and they want, and not necessarily like arraigned yet or anything like that. And you have them out on the street working,
Yeah.
basically working off their case with a, not a promise, but a promise that you will help them, usher them through the system.
I always love the guys that get arrested and they're in the back of the police car. Nobody knows they've been arrested yet. And they're like, listen, nobody knows nobody knows we grabbed you. Now's the time. If you want to, like, we'll let you right back out. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody knows you've been arrested. We can get you back on the street and you can help us. Fuck you. I ain't help. And then, of course, 4 months later, when they've hemmed everybody else up and they're all cooperating, then they want to cooperate. It's like, wow, your opportunity to cooperate was when you were probably sitting in the back of that police car. You were in the perfect position.
Right.
And now everybody's already telling on you. Now you want to tell. You're the low man on the totem pole now.
Yeah, that's why, like, one of the ringleaders in that case, one of the OGs, wanted to proffer or do a interview with their attorney, giving up all the information. And we're like, no thanks. Like, who are you going to give up? You're at the top.
Yeah,
We're good. We've got it figured out. We got the fences. We got everybody, right? So,
you got a guy.
yeah. So we got a guy, and
How do you get this guy? Did you arrest him on something else, or did he just walk in, or he just call you guys and say, "Hey"?
he reached out.
Nice.
He reached out. So he was a gang member, and he starts telling me about. Initially, we thought it was this gang called Red Wings. So they were a Red Wing gang, and they all had like the Detroit Red Wings tattoo on their wrist or their hand.
What
Okay.
is that like what's the Red Wing?
The Detroit Red Wings, the hockey team.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm not a sports person.
Yeah. All right. I thought we were.
I know you look at me and you think
Yes.
athlete.
Well,
You're
your
wrong.
body's a temple, so clearly. No, I thought we were going to be buddies, but now that you're not a sports person, it's over, man. Okay. So they would have this tattoo somewhere from here to here, right? And initially we thought it was just them. Well, that was one of the factions. That was one of the groups, right? That were run by the big boys. And what we found was there was 3 different gangs in Detroit that were all working together, which in itself is crazy, right? You think about low-level street gangs, and low-level street gangs in Detroit are blocks. And just like any town, Chicago's like that too. Like, and I'm sure Miami and Tampa are like that also. It's like you rep your block, and you're the 117th rolling 20s or something. You know what I mean? And that's your block, and you live and die for the guys on your block.
Stupid.
And typically you die, but that's what you do. So it was these other 2 gangs, that's crazy in that time. And I'm still now, because they all beef, but what brought them all together, because people asked me this during interviews afterwards, was like, how did they all cooperate? Money. They all wanted to get rich.
Right.
They all wanted that rapper lifestyle, right? And they were getting it this way. So as long as the money was coming, they were good. So this informant is with one of these groups, all right? And he starts giving me information, and same old tried and true. Like, I asked him, like, why is he doing this? And he's like, oh, well, I don't agree with what they're doing. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You want fucking money,
All right.
right? You want some money. Your money's a little tight, and you don't want to get it illegitimately, even though I know you've gotten it illegitimately before, because we have to vet everybody.
Do you think he also thinks that it's probably coming down? Like, it's better to be a witness than a defendant?
So from everything I could tell in the investigation, all the work I did, he was never involved. So he was literally just in the room as they're talking, planning, bringing them back proceeds and stuff like that.
Sounds like a great witness now,
Yeah,
right?
like for the government, that's an amazing
Yeah.
witness. Like he has no play in it, but he's in the room and he knows all this stuff. So he starts providing me all this information, and then he moves, so I have to travel out of state to go see him and stuff like that to get more information, which was great because it was like, you're there 3 days and you're interviewing them one afternoon.
Right.
But so he starts providing information real time and giving phone numbers, and it blows the case wide open because now we were pinging phone numbers, right, off of burner phones that are his, and we're finding them on towers at robberies. Like we're dumping all the information from a tower, and it's super easy if you have a robbery in Denver, Colorado, and there's a bunch of Detroit area code phone numbers on there. Well, those are your suspects.
Yeah.
That would be called a clue.
All right.
Right? So then you grab those numbers and you'd see like, well, they're within an hour of the time frame. Oh, and 2 weeks ago, 3 of those numbers were there also, but they weren't there any time in between.
Are you able to then go get like wires on the phone?
Well, we never got to the point of a wire because a T3 or a wire, you have to show that all investigative measures have been exhausted, and like you're coming up empty,
Right.
Right.
But you guys aren't coming up.
We aren't. The guys are getting grabbed left and right now. Now that we have a CI, right, a confidential informant. And because he provide numbers, so we're getting them off the towers, and he talks about it too because he's in the room with them. So he tells us their MO a little farther, and where the actual ringleaders or the OGs chill while the robbery is happening. Like how
Strip
far
club.
up? They do love this strip club.
Yeah, I know.
There's a strip club that they loved though that they all went. I can't think of the name of it, but we actually had to do a lot. We didn't go in, mind you, because it was not our scene.
Okay.
Put it like that.
Okay.
All right.
Are you 4 6'2" white guys and walking into this strip club would have seemed suspicious?
The demographic was a little different, right? So
you could have worn. Did you ever see? The other guys with Will Ferrell, where he was Gator?
Oh, Gator?
You could have worn the big chain.
Bitch better have my money.
Yeah,
yes.
You could have done that. Walked in and you couldn't have pulled
He's
it off.
rubbing the knife against his face.
Yeah. I don't think
It's a hilarious movie. First time I ever saw that movie, I was like, man, this is kind of lame. Then I watched it again. I'm like, this is hilarious.
The outtakes are hilarious. Where Wahlberg can't hold it together during some of these scenes, he just can't do it. I mean,
right? Like, I mean, the desk pop was one of the best. Like when they get to do the desk pop,
give him the wood gun, and then eventually they take away the wooden gun. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
They're like, you can't have a weapon anymore. We're going to give you this wooden gun, and then he fucks up again, and they take away the wooden gun.
Yeah. So side note, so we had and we used that stuff. So when because they give him the whistle, right? They give him the rape whistle. So the mentor detective leaves.
Yeah.
And so this other officer makes detective. He comes up. He becomes my partner. His name was Brian. Great investigator. Okay, did really well. But just like anything, you got to mentor. You got to train him up. So like his first like week or two there, I give him this whistle on like little rubber band. You know, the ones that go on your wrist. He's like, "What's that for?" I'm like, "Well, you gotta earn the gun. Like until then, you get this rape whistle." And we were all dying.
Trouble. Blow the whistle.
Blow the whistle. Thank God he had a good sense of humor because he was rolling on the ground, man. And him and I had some of the funniest interviews with suspects that we ever had because it became a game for us of like, could I make him laugh? And we know we got this guy on the ropes. We're going to get it, but can I make him laugh too? Right. So it became a game, and I'll share some of that stuff, like hilarious stuff. And then this other guy was put on admin duty and sent to the detective bureau because he, in like a year and a half, he'd been in 2 shootings, and with felons, they were legit shootings, but they're like, oh man, this guy's kind of loose on the trigger. We're gonna sit him on the bench for a little bit. So he came upstairs, and I gave him a rubber band gun, a wooden rubber band gun. And I'm like, welcome to the detective bureau. Here's your gun. And he's like,
I need your service revolver.
Yeah, and he didn't know what to think of it at first, right? And then like he sees like even my sergeant is there, and everybody's like cracking up, and so he's like, ha ha ha, you know, and like so we got him to take a picture of it with his rubber band gun in his holster, and like we didn't. He's like, please don't send that out. We're like, no, we won't. But we kept it up like on people's desks in the detective bureau. And we had him with his rubber band gun, and we're like, dude, when you clear the IA investigation, we'll give you your real gun back. Okay, here's your rubber band gun. You know, make sure you keep it loaded with rubber bands. And so anyway, back to the investigation. So we're going across the country, grabbing people up, and we ended up indicting 48 guys in 18 months.
Okay.
Like absurd, right?
Right.
Right. And charging 6 people stateside for anything from possession of stolen goods to, aiding and abetting, stuff like that. Anybody that the assistant U.S. attorney was like, yeah, I can't, we're not going to grab them.
Yeah.
I would,
this isn't federal. Yeah.
yeah, I would turn right around, and I had a prosecutor at that point on tap because she had written the initial warrants on the first group before I was a TFO, a task force officer. So she knew the case, and anytime like I needed a local warrant, I would go to her, and we'd write it together. Then I'd go to the same judge not because I was like judge or prosecutor shopping, but because they already knew it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have to spend an hour telling them about all the capers and the MO and all that stuff. Like they knew what was going on. They sit down, they start reading it, they're good.
When you get the warrants, do you have to write out like a master affidavit every time? Like you have to
Yeah.
write out a whole, okay.
Whole affidavit.
All right.
So like, and you would like the original save, so you would like cut out sections that don't apply to this person and then put in their information. But like the base crime stuff is the same, change the dates and stuff like that. So it was a template, but yeah, you have to write out the whole thing.
I was wanted to ask you something. So with 2 questions. One, when you're grabbing somebody and you're arresting 2 guys in Colorado, and there's, the 8 guys that are kind of a party to this, are they realizing these guys, or are they so compartmentalized? Are they even realizing that these 2 guys got grabbed, and yet these 8 guys that are a member of this crew, do they have just no idea, or do they know, and they go nuts? They just grabbed T-Dog, and they grabbed, Blood Money, and oh my God, they're coming. What's going on? Or they have no clue.
What are you trying to say? Why are these guys named T-Dog and Blood?
I don't know. I feel like, but street game. So okay, well, maybe it's Tony and Tom and
maybe it's Pierre,
Anthony.
Maybe it's Pierre.
Yeah.
Right. And Franz.
Right.
Okay.
So it wasn't, but okay.
It wasn't, but it could have been.
Yeah,
okay,
could have
let's
been.
not assume. All right. So yeah, sometimes yes and sometimes no, because they're all working together to some degree. And then they would literally, they would turn on each other, and not turn on each other with just us, but like one guy got shot going through an Arby's drive-through and killed because he kept a Rolex for himself that another guy wanted, and the guy wanted the Rolex on his wrist and killed him.
I mean, okay, are they doing this because you think as a result of the arrests, or just in general they're just turning on each
There's
other?
Zero integrity, right?
Yeah.
The whole no honor
I know
among
you
thieves.
would. I know you would think. And can you believe that these guys don't have any integrity? I know that's shocking.
Right. The whole no honor behind thieves that's legit. That's legit. So, we're working up all this stuff with the CI. People are going down left and right, and what happens, like literally, the day that I'm leaving the agency. So in this whole process, I'm in the hiring process with the Secret Service.
Okay.
So
You'd applied?
Yeah, I had applied, and then the sequestration happened with the Obama administration, where all federal hiring stopped.
Okay.
So it was like a 3-year process, and everybody else had just been like, "All right, you're getting too close to the age limit of 37." Like FBI, DEA, ATF, they're like, "See, dude."
Oh, if you're over 37, you can't. Oh,
You can't become a federal agent because the mandatory retirement is 57.
okay.
So you have to have 20 years in their system to draw a pension.
Why you have to retire by 50? Why?
They want you to be able to, they're not taking into account like guys that get fat and lazy. They want you to be able to, do your job competently from not only from a brain level, but from a fitness level, right?
Right.
Like you need to be able to arrest somebody and not be bent over wheezing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in this process, and literally up until the day I leave the police department, we're out doing surveillance and arresting guys. I remember my lieutenant came to me at the time. He's like, "We're really sad to lose you because this is your nobody else on their last day would be out trying to arrest somebody." Well, I had to get this done. If I don't get this done, it's not going to, it's going to go to the wayside going to somebody else, because not only do they not know the complexity and the nuances of it, but they don't, they got other stuff going on. It's not their case. So we were doing that to the last day. But one of the interesting things of when I was, so here's a funny story for you. So you talk about my partner, Brian, and I, right? So we would work to actually make each other laugh in these interviews. And this is right before I go to the Secret Service. So we had a good couple years together, and then I went to the task force, and we still work together all the time because he was working that and then went to major case. So he's working homicide and stuff like that. So we would work with each other still all the time, and we get in interview rooms. And my goal always in an interview was not only to get a confession, and two, to make Brian laugh.
Right.
Right. And like just hilarious stuff, like and small time stuff too when we're in property crimes together. Like for instance, this kid comes up, like the city had just installed a miracle field. And a miracle field is a baseball diamond that is all like the rubberized turf that you see in like kids' parks now.
Okay.
All right. So people could go out there and play baseball in like wheelchairs and stuff. It's called a miracle field, right? So they could go out and play, and like kids groups that are in wheelchairs would come out there and play ball and be able to do it. And this kid in a neighboring neighborhood came there and had spray painted the whole thing with, you know, like gang graffiti and stuff like that. And we figured it out because on his block, he'd also spray painted the sign, the stop sign, stuff like that. And then we like worked our way back to his address. And in the interview room, he's not talking about shit. So we take a break, and I go out and I grab a blank. This is when DVDs and CDs were still a thing, right? So I grab a blank CD that had not been burned with anything. Like if you literally had turned it over, you'd see that there, you know, because when it's burned, it has the lines, right? There's nothing. Mm-hmm. And I wrote on it cameras 1, 2, 3, 5. Like, so camera 4 didn't work.
Yeah.
Something. And I go back in there, and when we're talking about, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, really? Because what I didn't tell you was that there's cameras all over the city complex where this is. And I take us out, I'm like, and we got you on cameras. On cameras 1, 2, 3, and 5, we see you spray painting, right? Camera 4, there was nothing. That's why it's not on there.
Right. Did he break? Did your
Spills.
partner know you were going to do that?
This is if I had a note, like let's say this is a notepad, my partner's like, and so he breaks right then. He just spills it. And of course, this is evidence now, right? Like how I got the confession. Send it up. The prosecutor's office is like, are you fucking serious? This guy fell for that? I'm like, we don't catch the smart ones.
No.
And another one we had, this is funny. So there is this high-rise apartment complex, condo complex, big apartments and stuff like that, right down on the 8 Mile border. You seen the movie 8 Mile?
Yeah.
Okay. So 8 Mile runs through Southfield. All right. So the north end of Southfield, very nice and residential. The south end, a little bit rougher. Okay. And so, but there is a historically nice tower called the Towers of Southfield, and you know, real original name, right? Mm. And there's this breaking and entering there, and we end up catching the suspect. And I don't remember how we caught him, but how we got him to confess was classic. So the person he had gone into the place, and he had stolen their jewelry and from the bedroom and stuff like that, right? And so when we're talking to him, and he got caught with some goods. And so when we're talking, I remember now, he went and pawned it. Huge mistake every time. Don't pawn that shit, right? All right.
And don't get your sister to pawn it.
Yeah.
Or your buddy.
Yeah. If you're watching or listening right now, don't pawn the goods. That's not a smart move. All right. There's systems that track that.
Right.
Okay. So we ended up catching him. And his whole thing was like, oh yeah, I'm walking through the hallway. And so you catch it right there. Like I start to do the voice, right? I start to sway over, and I got to catch myself. So he's like, yeah, I'm walking through the hallway, and and I did see some stuff, and but it was outside the door, like they were moving. And so I like looked at it, and I was like, oh, this is nice, So I picked it up because I told him his fingerprints were on it, right? And he's like, oh, this is nice. So I picked it up and then I set it on and went on my way. I'm like, no, man, you took it. All right. You pawned that stuff. We got the receipt. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, but I thought, like it was vacant and they left it. So I picked it up and I took it. I'm like, that's not what happened at all.
Two Rolexes and an engagement ring? They
Yeah.
just left?
Yeah, they just
Like-
leave that there. I'm like, bigger fish to fry. They're not worried about that stuff, right? And one of them was a ring, and and a watch, but not a Rolex, not that, not of that caliber, and so I go, that's not what happened at all, man. I'm like, you saw that the door was unlocked. You went in and you went to the back bedroom and took stuff. No, didn't do that. I'm like, yeah, you did. You did. We've got your prints on the box in the back. I didn't have any prints on the box in the back. Right. But I'm like, on the jewelry box, because I knew a jewelry box had been hit.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, you got the print. We got your prints on that box. No, not me. He's like, I admit that I was walking by and there's stuff outside the door and I picked it up and I took some stuff. I never went in.
He didn't want to get hit with burglary? Is that what he was concerned about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. He didn't want that enhancement, right? Like just, possession of property is
Vastly different than
breaking and entering.
Yeah.
Right. And so he keeps going on this route, and I'm like, you know how we know I got your prints? And this is something that we do. It's legal. I take a print card. It's not his print card.
Right.
But I use it as a prop, and it's got prints on it, and I slide it for you. I'm like, prints match.
Right.
He's like, no, I didn't. And this is where I get Brian here. So I go and I say, I'm like, well, there's one of two scenarios here, and you need to decide which one's you. He's like, and he's leaning and he's like, yeah. But what
What's
options?
my out? You're going to give me my out?
Yeah. What options are you going to give me? And I'm like, well, there one of two things happened here. Either you went in there, saw the doors open, nobody was home, and I'm still minimizing. I'm like, nobody was there. You checked, nobody was there, so you went in and you grabbed the stuff out of the jewelry box, touched everything. That's how we got your prints. Or somebody stole your hands. And he's like, huh? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you were sleeping, and you woke up in the morning and you didn't have any hands, and somebody came and stole your hands and went in there and used your hands to steal it. And if that's the case, and I'm like, there's a phone. I'm like, I'm going to call dispatch right now because we need to report a larceny of hands. And he's like, here's Brian in the back. He's like, oh my God, what the fuck, man? He's taking notes and he stops and he's like, oh my God. I'm like, and the guy's like, because there's only two options here. Your prints are on the box. So either you went in there and you took it, or somebody stole your hands and went in there and did it. That's the only two options, because science isn't going to lie on this, right? Your prints are your prints. So if that's the case, let's file a report right now. Call dispatch. I'll get a case number. We're going to file a report for larceny of hands. So he's like, yeah, it was me. It was me. I did it. But, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It. So then I write up the report, and I write all of that in the report for the prosecution, and I send it up to the prosecutor's office. And this prosecutor, he's a defense attorney now, he calls me the next morning, and he's like, I'm like, it's like Saturday morning, like 9 a.m. He calls me, and he's like, Drew, are you fucking kidding me? Larceny of hands? And he's dying. He's on the phone. He's dying. And to this day, when we'll send each other a message, even on social media, we'll reference larceny of hands.
Right.
But yeah, Brian and I would do that all the time. He would try to make me laugh. I try to make him laugh, stuff like that. And there was at that point where I was getting ready to leave to go to the feds. I didn't want to leave the task force. I loved it, but there was a sunset on. And I knew from working these interstate cases and national cases that not that the job I was doing wasn't important, but there's bigger fish to fry.
Right.
So, and so what I did was I started applying. This sequestration happened during the Obama administration. It got pushed way back, and I get hired by the Secret Service in 2016, and right at the gun. By the time I was in the academy, I was 38 years old. I was the oldest guy in our academy class. And go to the Secret Service. Secret Service moves me to Chicago. All right. They offered me New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago. Chicago is closest to family in Michigan. And even though the cost of living is high, it was the lowest of all those. Like in San Francisco, I would have been living in a broom closet.
Right.
So go to the academy, go through all that stuff, get out, get sent to Chicago. Now in the Secret Service, it's a dual mission agency. So dual mission, so you'd work protection and then you work investigation, especially in the field. If you're in DC, you just work protection. When you are in the field, like Chicago, Baltimore, Miami, whatever, your primary job is investigations and you supplement the protection detail. So if Hillary Clinton comes to town for a fundraiser or something like that, you do the security blueprint. Or every so many months, you're on travel and you go and you supplement the protection details for the president, vice president, wherever they want you. But in the city, when you're working in the city on your normal gig, your investigations, you're doing normal investigations. So the Secret Service's nexus is mostly financial crimes. It started with counterfeiting. Fun fact was the Secret Service didn't start by doing protection. They were
Counterfeiting.
Yeah. And they were put in place by Abraham Lincoln. And it was signed into law right before Abraham Lincoln was murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because...
Well, they still weren't going to be protective detail.
Yeah, they weren't going to be protective.
That's what...
That wasn't until Garfield. That wasn't until 1901.
Right. Yeah, they realized that was he assassinated or did he just get shot? And that's when they realized, like, they have to have full-time protection.
Garfield?
Yeah.
He was assassinated.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I mean, I don't know if it was a successful or not.
Yeah.
I forget who it was that got shot. And he got shot either in his speech. I think the bullet hit and like he had a thick speech or something and that slowed the bullet down or something. I forget. And then he continued the speech.
Right.
It was one of these presidents. Anyway, but so then they
they were put into place by Abraham Lincoln because counterfeiting was so rampant in the South with the Confederates that it was just killing the value of currency in the United States, and that's what they started doing. So we would do investigations, and I'm no longer with the Secret Service, by the way. I've since with situations with my family and stuff like that, I've gone to a position that's not as much travel. So I work for the U.S. Postal Service Office Inspector General, and I investigate narcotics primary and also mail theft. So narcotics going through the mail stream. But so in the Secret Service, you start working counterfeit. And we had a case that typically protection for the Secret Service comes first, right? Because you could pick up an investigation next month, but you can't, if you get shot as the president, you can't pick that up next month. So that's primary, right? Understandably so. So we had a case that was a big counterfeiting ring. They were taking $1 bills and they were washing them, so you bleach them, and then they were printing them as hundreds. And what was happening was it was a huge organization. So I get the case in 2018. I hired on 2016, go through the academy. I'm in the office by 2017. I get the case at the beginning of 2018. I do the research, and the agents, not their fault because the protective pace was like so intense that it was hard for them to work it. But I can contribute from 2012 to 2018 when I got it. The guys involved in this case, I can contribute $275,000 in counterfeit to them. In the 1 year that I worked the case with my partner, we were able to hang over $1 million on these guys. So imagine what they were doing those other years that wasn't getting tracked. And that was a lot of surveillance. That was also confidential, a defendant. So what they were doing was they were using the money they're using money to fund human trafficking, gun trafficking, and narcotics trafficking in Chicago. So gun trafficking from Atlanta, they would go down to Atlanta, they'd pick up the guns, they'd come up to Chicago. Because Chicago's gun laws are so stringent, they definitely work, right? Like, it's one of the worst murder rates in the nation,
But but they made them illegal, so it should clear everything up.
Oh, yeah, because, criminals are like, oh, well, I can't have that gun.
Yeah.
Right? It's illegal.
It's the same thing with making drugs illegal. It totally solved the problem.
Oh, totally. Like, yeah, never mind. Like, there should be penalties, but never mind. Forget like programs that assist people with getting off drugs and breaking the habit. Just lock them up.
So who's the human trafficking? Is this like are these Mexicans or Asians? Like when I think of human trafficking, I'm thinking bringing them in from another country, as opposed to grabbing girls at bus stops or whatever. I mean, is this like are they bringing them in? Are they smuggling people across the border or?
No. So none of that. They're Chicago girls.
Oh, okay. I thought that's just what I thought.
I mean, when
I think of that,
that's where your head goes.
I always think of 80 people in a shipping container coming over from China. Like that's my first thought, because it also makes me think of the counterfeiting too, because counterfeiting is typically, not always, but typically it's fairly sophisticated, right? Like it's like the average doofus, street gang typically can't pull that off. I mean, maybe they do, but not $1 million a year that you're grabbing. If you're grabbing $1 million, there's another $1 million that's probably maybe not going through the system and being grabbed.
Well, you say it like this, so like a lot of things fall under the human trafficking purview. Like pimping ain't pimping anymore, right?
No, it's human trafficking. Yeah.
It's human trafficking, right? So, like that was, why do you think Diddy got hit with he didn't get hung on him, but he initially he was charged with human trafficking,
right?
And crossing state lines to promote prostitution or however the wording is, right? Same thing. So these guys were all like 30-ish, right? So been around the block a bunch of times, living in the hood. They would prey on girls that had really bad home lives, and we're talking like 14, 15, 16, and they would make them their girlfriends. So that in itself is messed up. Like these guys are like 30, 31 years old, 32 years old, and they have like 2 to 3 14 to 15-year-old girls living with them that were their girlfriends. Mm-hmm. But they would take them out of state and host hotel parties and pimp them out.
Right.
And I mean, we're talking Vegas, all the surrounding states of Illinois and Atlanta, and the girls would tell us this in an interview, they would tell me to go in the bathroom and I'd have to suck some guy's dick.
Right.
And that was it. And I'm like, why'd you do that? Well, I didn't really feel like I had a choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's stuff like, I didn't really mind it.
Right.
But, it is what it is. He takes care of me.
Right. Yeah. You're 3 states away. I got no identification. This guy's paying all my bills. It becomes,
right.
What is that? Is it Stockholm Syndrome?
Yeah, where you fall in love with your captor.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it
right.
was. That's exactly what it was like, because these guys would treat them, even though they treated them like shit,
right?
They would treat them better than their family had ever treated them.
Right.
Right. So,
and they're providing everything for them.
And they're providing, they're paid, they're eating like shit. They're eating like McDonald's all the time and stuff like that. Like you'd see literally, and it's sad, but a side note, like all they're eating is fast food, mm-hmm. right? So you'd see these girls literally blow up from the beginning of the case to the end. Like they would just be getting bigger and bigger because they're just eating junk.
All right.
Right. And then as they got older, they were no longer the main bitch. Now they get moved out of the bedroom and now they're a side girl. And once somebody younger comes in.
I believe we interviewed Pimpin' Ken. I believe Pimpin' Ken says that's their bottom bitch.
The bottom bitch.
Turned into the bottom bitch. That's what Pimpin' Ken said.
Pimpin' Ken definitely has his lingo on point. One of the girls got arrested. They all got arrested at some point. We talked to all of them. Most of them would not talk because they were in love, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the girls got arrested, and she was clearly a prostitute. Just from my experience, like there was no doubt. And we talked to her, and they were facing felonies with the local PD for this counterfeiting and for passing counterfeit notes. And she got hooked, and which means she got arrested, and she's in custody. And I'm interviewing, and I start doing the spiel of "we can help you," mm-hmm. right? And she's like, "I'll think about it," And what I ended up doing, which could have totally backfired for me, but I told her this, and I was like, in an act of good faith, I want you to call me when you got here. I'm going to go talk to the PD and I'm going to have you released on your own, on personal recognizance. So no bond. You got to show up back to court and you need to call me.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yes, of course. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big risk.
That is a risk. Like she's got no ties to anybody anywhere. Right.
Right.
Like she could just not show up. And
That's a huge risk, but it is calculated.
yeah. But it's a gesture of good faith. And it makes her think this guy's looking out for me.
This guy's really is looking out for me. It's not just talk. So I did it. And it was like one incident, right? She was in one, like, do you recognize this person, pictures and stuff like that were posted. So she had done a bunch, but this was one charge. So, because remember, PDs don't communicate, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not going to try to hang a bunch on her. They got theirs. And so I get her out on personal bond. All right. And like the risk is not paying off for someone. Shit. And my boss was cool about it. He was like, shit happens, right? Like, don't worry about it. You took a risk, took calculated risk. It didn't work. Well, 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning at like 6:30 in the morning, I'm at home, and she calls my work phone, and she's like, "I want to talk." And like basically, the dude had ran her through the ringer, and so she was fed up, and she wanted to get out, and so she's like, "I want to talk." I'm like, all right. So we meet, we talk. And then she goes, poof, and she disappears on me. And then a month and a half later, she gets arrested by a local PD doing this again. Right. And she had told me that, like, I was like, how'd you get hooked up with so-and-so? She's like, well, I was just walking down the street and he pulled up and he started hollering at me, telling me how beautiful I was. And if I wanted to, go for a ride, get something to eat. She's like, I was hungry. So I'm like, so you don't know this guy. You just jump in his car. And that's that street life. She's like, yeah, I was hungry. He offered me to give me something to eat. And then we went back to his place. I'm like, oh man, I know from your medical what type of stuff you have.
Right.
But it's whatever. So anyway, so she's talking and she starts providing information. And, so she was not at a level where we could put her in WITSEC, so we couldn't put her in witness protection, witness security, right? It just wasn't at that level. But so I had to get creative. So I reached out to some local detectives. I called a couple of them until I could get an answer. I was like, here's what I have. This person, she's a confidential defendant, because now I've taken her and I put her before a grand jury to testify. So now eventually her name will be out there, right? And she testifies to it. And I'm like, we got to put her someplace. Like, she cannot be in the city, right? City of 3 million people, he'll find her. She's in the city. She'll screw up and he'll call her. She'll call him, because they'll fall back in. So I was talking, so we got her way up north near Wisconsin. And I put her in, I ended up having to call like a local person that helps people that ran a home for battered women and children, right? Like a domestic violence.
Yeah.
And she didn't fit the bill at all for this place. But she's like, you know what? Till you can find something better, I'll take her.
Right.
And so she was there for like 2 weeks. And at 2 weeks, she had worn out her welcome because she was getting in fights with girls. She was feisty.
Yeah.
And the same as the guy that broke the interstate robbery case, like, very, nice person, in a conversation. If it was different, if she had chosen a different path in life, like, you could have a normal conversation with this person, but she chose the life of working the streets. And you talk to her and you're like, man, different life. You could have been someone completely different, right? Just by your personality and your articulation and stuff like that. And so she goes there, and then she ends up I end up getting her down in Bloomington, which is about 2 hours away from Chicago south. So nice distance, right? And I get her in a house that is geared towards women that are in her situation, like a human trafficking house, people that are victims of human trafficking.
Right.
Because even though they may think like, I love him and I'll do whatever, he's taking care of me, they're victims.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you said, Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah. The longer you can keep them away from them, the more they get their head on straight and they start realizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have that's a significant period of time before they're able to kind of look back and go, wait a minute, you know.
Yeah.
Look at what was it, Elizabeth Smart. Initially, when she got grabbed, she's telling him, "No, this is my father." No, what are you talking about? Like even when they separated her, it still took hours before she finally was like, "Okay, it's me." And she'd barely been with that guy, like a year, something like that.
Brainwashing.
Yeah,
You know, it's
but,
psychological.
he's taking care of her. He's feeding her. She's terrified of him, and she's in the middle of restaurants. She's in the middle of places where she could reach to go to anybody. A cop even went up and talked to her, and said she was in a library. We watched that. She's in like a library, and the cop comes up and says, "Hey, I just need to make sure that this isn't the girl we're looking for." And she says this is her father. No, this is my father. This is a police officer. It's the perfect time to say, this guy he's kidnapped me.
She's scared.
She's terrified. It's kind of Stockholm. You know, it's at least a portion of that is she's terrified. What's he going to do? This guy came and took me in the middle of the night at my house, asleep.
Makes you wonder how many girls that Pimpin' Ken had in love with him.
Yeah.
but and I've got a girl like that in this case too. But I ended up getting her about 2 hours away, getting her in a home for girls that have been trafficked.
Right.
So a home for ex-prostitutes, and they ended up getting her arrested, getting her a job at like a Dollar General, and getting her in college, and you know, she lasted there a while, and then I lost track of her because she got kicked out of the house for sneaking a guy in. Like a bunch, they stopped her, gave her like 15 chances.
Right.
And, finally I was like, all right, you got to go.
Yeah.
And because I called down there to check on her all the time. And I remember I was doing all this work outside of the case, and my supervisor at the time at the Secret Service, he's like, Drew, why are you doing all this? He goes, I can't think of an agent in this entire office of 67 agents in Chicago that would put in that extra effort and do that. I said, well, his name is Alex. I said, Alex, this is the job we signed up to do. It's protect and serve, not go out and arrest. And I got into this job to help people that are less fortunate, to help people that can't help themselves for whatever reason in their life. Like they don't have the bootstraps to pull up on, to pull up on their boots. Like they just don't have it to help them escape true victimization.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, man, I give you credit because I can't think of another agent here that would be doing all this. And so we get her out, and then you talk about like the Stockholm Syndrome and Elizabeth Smart. We had another girl like that she was 14, and she was with one of the main guys that was 30. And her mom came to how we figured out who she was her mom came to us and interviewed her. And the mom was like, she's a good kid. She gets good grades. We're a divorced home. And she's telling out the whole tale. She's like, I just want my daughter back, right? Like she's been gone for 6 weeks now. And she, Chicago PD isn't doing anything about it. But yet she's willfully gone.
Right.
Like they're not going to they don't have time to track that down. And, sometimes she'll message me and like she'll be with some guy and we figured out it was her, and we never got her back on track. Like we would try to introduce her back to the mom, talk to her, like she was buckled down. She was about that life now because she was with him, because she would get out and she'd go right back.
Right.
And he'd be all baby. Let's go get some McDonald's, baby. And she'd eat and she'd be happy. So we ended up getting through that. And you talk about standards in different U.S. attorney's office. The Eastern District of Michigan, another case, fast and furious, right? 1,000,000 miles an hour, 48 indictments in 18 months. The Northern District of Illinois for Chicago, they took the case, but then we're almost a year and a half into it, and they couldn't wrap their heads around a conspiracy. Now we don't have two people. That's what a conspiracy is too, right?
Right.
We have multiple actors. We have a girl that we interview, and she lays out that we had her on camera passing counterfeit. We had her driver on camera, who we had identified too. And so we had her on camera, driver on camera. We end up interviewing her. She'd been for a whole bunch of them. Like, we had her on a lot of places. She proceeds to break down how they would come back from passing this counterfeit. Her driver would get out of the car in her presence. The ringleader, the OG, would come down from his apartment. The driver would hand the ringleader a stack of money.
This is wash money.
This is the real money that they exchanged.
Yeah, this is the money that, they give
this-
them $100 to buy a stick of gum,
Yes.
bubble gum. They get
$98 back, right?
Here's the $98.
Right? So a wad of money. Guy goes through, counts it, breaks him off.
Mm-hmm.
Tells him, whatever. A guy gets back in the car, counts it again, breaks her off. This is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Right? This is the definition of conspiracy at this point. And the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney is like, I don't know. I just don't see it. And I remember telling her at the time, she left federal service to go be a professor, which is probably where she belonged.
Right.
And I remember telling her at the time, like, my supervisor had come to the meeting because they were so frustrated. They wanted to hear what's going on. I said, they are not going to go. And I go, we could put her on a wire. It doesn't matter. And we did those too. But like, they're not going to go. She's not going to go. And he's not going to say, hey, I would like to commit a conspiracy with you.
Right.
Let's commit a crime together. We are going to watch. Well, it's not going to happen. He's like, hey, you go in there, move this, yada, yada, yada. I'll break you off.
Right.
They're not going to articulate conspiracy and the parameters of what makes a conspiracy. She's like, oh, I know, but we need more for them to say. And I'm like, what the fuck do you need more?
Right.
Like, she literally just came in here with her attorney to provide information, and you're saying it's not enough, and she gave you the definition of conspiracy.
Right.
Right. And she's willing to testify to it.
Right.
Like, come on, let's go. So we finally
Can't you get another U.S. attorney?
No.
So can we swap her out for somebody who's understanding what's happening here?
Yeah. So we actually asked for a declination letter. So we could take a declination letter is when the U.S. Attorney's Office says, sorry, we're not going to take your case, or we took it and we're no longer going to pursue it. They will send you an official letter saying that they're done.
Right.
They're closing it. We asked for that. And then we took it to Cook County, where Chicago is. They have a group called CC Rock, which is like criminal conspiracy, like about fraud.
Right.
I can't remember what the actual acronym is at this moment, but it's called CC Rock. So we get with an assistant state's attorney there. He grabs it. He's like, oh, this is great. He's like, you guys basically put a bow on this and hand it to me. And it's the same stuff we had given the U.S. attorney.
Right.
Right. And he's like, yeah, we're gonna knock this out of the park. This is gonna be a great case. He goes, and on the ringleader, he hangs 81 counts. I never in my career, never again, seen 81 counts on one person. All right. And he goes, 4 counts of conspiracy
Right.
that the U.S. Attorney's Office never saw, that they couldn't wrap their heads around. 4 counts of conspiracy and continuing criminal enterprise. So not only conspiracy, but CCE, continuing criminal enterprise. The guy got like 20 some years.
Was he also making the money?
Yes.
Okay.
So they would take a piece of shit $100 printer from
Yeah.
Target or something like that, and they would line it up just right, like they tape it all down. They'd wash it with this is really interesting, and I know you had a counterfeiter on before, right?
Yeah, I've had a few.
Yeah. So these guys would use milk to wash it.
Milk.
And they said we're giving away like trade secrets here. They said that it maintained the crispness of the bill, that it felt real, because a lot of times when you'd wash and bleach it, it would make it softer.
Right.
Because dollar bills are linen.
Yeah.
Right. It's a blend of linen. It's not
It's
paper.
not paper.
Right. That's why they don't burn well. And they like, so we use milk. And for some reason, we don't know why, we just tried it, but it would maintain the crispness of the bill. It wouldn't be soft and floppy. And so they used milk to wash it, and then they would lie it on just right, tape it down on a piece of paper, and they'd run it through and print 100. And like we were doing trash pulls left and right, and like pulling all kinds of messed up hundreds out of their trash and stuff. Just hilarious stuff. Like, But the ringleader ended up getting 20 years and had 81 counts, including 4 counts of conspiracy. And we're like, that's what you get with the Northern District of Illinois with the U.S. Attorney's Office. They couldn't figure it out. And a year and a half later, we said, all right, we want our case back. So that was another good one. And another one is when we go back to the detective one that I said I was going to touch on earlier was the gun case. Yeah, so the gun case also was a make or break, and again, informant, right? So at this point with the police department, nobody's really doing informants. Like it's old school too, right? At that point, it's in the early 2010s, and so we had a book that we had to write the informant stuff in. It wasn't computerized like it is now, and like I go and I have this case, and I end up developing an informant later in the story, and they're like, yeah, go in the such and such office and pull out the informant log, and the last one was like 5 years earlier, the last informant for the whole city, and I was like, okay, so I fill out the paperwork and everything like that, and off to the races. You got to print them, you got to run a background on them, set up, they got to fill out paperwork that they're going to claim this on their taxes and stuff like that, whatever, right?
It's nuts.
Which will never happen.
Yeah.
Nobody's claiming it on their taxes. But so we had this case, and this was another one of those you can't solve it type of cases, right? So I'm working in a gun shop and shooting range on the west side of Southfield. Somebody overnight runs a U-Haul truck into the back of it through the wall and then goes in. And at this time, they were displaying their rental guns on the wall, which is typical, but they weren't taking them down at night.
Right.
So they are loose on the wall. So they drive through the back, drive the U-Haul through the back, go in and steal 22 guns, and then get out, get back in the U-Haul, take off. Right, 2 guys. Everything is covered. There's no like, hey, there's a pair of black and white Air Force Ones. It's all very nondescript. Like these guys had it pretty well figured out how they were going to do this, which typically fails in the end. But at the time, it was a true whodunit, right? So even my boss was like, hey, I'm going to send you this case that you initially went out on. I had like 40 cases. He's like, just leave it open for a while, see if anything comes of it. And then if you close it down, you close it down.
Right.
Nobody expected it to be solved. So I start looking around and stuff like that. And then the U-Haul gets recovered in Detroit. So there's this abandoned U-Haul on a side street. Now, Detroit, if you don't know Detroit, like the downtown has been revitalized by, major business owners like the Roger Penske's of the world, like revitalized downtown. Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Quicken Loans, like he bought up like 80% of downtown that was vacant and rebuilt the whole thing. That now it's like this nice zone, but there's a triangle of freeways around downtown Detroit, and that's it. You go outside that triangle, you're back in the shit.
Right.
Right. So the neighborhoods are pretty bad throughout, and you'll have entire blocks that are vacant, and except for like the house you're surveilling. So how do you surveil a house on a block? There's only one occupied house, and everything else is burnt out and vacant, right? And so it's on a vacant street, and they set it on fire, so it's sitting there. And it gets called in, so we go down and process it. Can't get anything off it. It's burned to a crisp. But again, lucky situation. I get a phone call. I don't get the phone call. Like our receptionist in the detective bureau gets a phone call, and she's like, "Hey, Snarey, you're gonna want to take this call. I think it has something to do with your gun case." I'm like, all right, cool. Take it. The guy's like, yeah, I know the guys who did it. I'm like, all right.
Well, great. Come on in.
Yeah.
Let's
I'm
talk
like,
about this.
I'm like, let's have a chat, you know? So he sits down, you know, young dad, got a living girlfriend and stuff like that. Just broke and can't rub two nickels together, right? Living off of all kinds of assistance. And his motive was he needed money,
Right.
right? Like he just badly, and he knew the guys. He wasn't part of the gang, but he hung with them. And so he starts, and at this point we could say he, like, this is like 15 years ago, and we're not talking about names here, like just
Yeah.
he, right? So, and it's a male street gang, so he, right? So he gives us like social media of the actors and stuff like that. And so we start like piecing it together. And then what also broke the case was, so on I-75 runs up from Detroit into the suburbs. Okay. So there was a shootout on the freeway, a moving shooting going on between two rival gangs. All right. So the state police gets called, and so, because it's on a freeway, and they end up exiting. I can't remember what street they exit to, but they go to a gas station and pull in there after the shooting is done. Well, they all go into the gas station, right? So now there's decent cameras,
Yeah.
right? Not just a freeway camera of somebody going by. They all go in there, and one guy's like has his hand under his shirt, you know, like he's holding the gun,
Yeah.
right? And kind of standing in the doorway looking back and forth, like, is anybody coming? Are the police coming? And he goes out and he goes behind the dumpster. And he's there for a second, then he walks out, and he's no longer holding his shirt. And so the clerk goes out there, and there's a gun,
Yeah.
right?
So he calls the police.
Calls the police. State police show up. It's one of the guns from our breaking and entering,
All right.
right? So off of that, I end up showing that guy's pictures to the guy. He identifies him, social media, all that stuff. Like, we figure out who he is, and then we end up figuring out who the main guys are in this. And that's through a process. And this comes into like managing personalities, like you and I talked about, like learning how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
So in Southfield and other agencies, they're typically, especially agencies like over 100 officers, where there is an aspect of violent crime, there's typically a directed patrol unit, which is they're not out there shagging runs. They're wearing street clothes.
You know, I've always liked keeping my wardrobe simple. I just want a few pieces that look good, feel comfortable, and actually last. That's one of the reasons I like Quince. They have the everyday essentials I love with quality that lasts. The cashmere is 100% Mongolian, the same stuff luxury brands use. The Pima cotton is long staple, which means it stays soft and doesn't pill. And the European jersey linen is breathable and lightweight, so it's great in warm weather, but still looks sharp. These are the versatile pieces that actually make a wardrobe work season to season. What I like is Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middleman. So you're not paying for brand markup or fancy retail stores, just quality clothing. And people clearly love it. Their clothing is rated between 4.5 and 5 stars by thousands of customers. Stop overcomplicating your wardrobe. You don't need a closet full of options. You just need a few pieces that actually work. Right now, go to quince.com/true for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's a full year to build your wardrobe and love it. And you will. Now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last. Go to quince.com/true for free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/true.
They have, semi-marked cars, and they're stopping cars on probable cause pretext stops that they think are, bad dudes, right? That they believe could be bad guys. Or if there's like a robbery, like they go into bloodhound mode, you know what I mean? And they get called, and they're like, hey, we need you guys to find this guy, and they start working it. So this is the group that always heats up the neighborhood. Like, they're not sitting there quiet doing surveillance. They're stopping anybody that comes through there. And that's
Right.
how they work. Well, during the investigation, because it was a gun case, the ATF task force officer out of Detroit reaches out to me. It's like, hey man, we heard that gun got recovered. And we're talking. He doesn't offer it, but I ask if you guys want to work together. So He's like, absolutely, we do. Let me talk to my boss. We'll go from there. So I go down to their office that their task force works out of. And, I brief them, we talk it out. Great group of guys, especially the Detroit police officers, like, man, just salt of the earth type of dudes. And typically, side note, you'll see that like in investigations that involve the police and the feds, like the police officers are just nice salt of the earth guys, blue collar, and then the feds are kind of like aloof and standoff. You can always tell a fed who was previously a cop and a fed who like has a biology degree. Right. Because they're very stiff.
Yeah.
And the ex-cop ones are like loose and easy to get along with and will talk to anybody.
Right.
So we go down there, we start working. Now, this is a federal task force, just like the FBI one. Like surveillance is the name of the game. Pattern of life is the name of the game. Watching you fuck up is the name of the game. Whereas the tactical crime suppression unit or the directed patrol unit, no, we're going to force you to fuck up. We're going to find you by stopping everybody that comes out of the neighborhood. This group is like, no, we're just going to watch you move. From the shadows and figure out what you're doing. And if we may need to make a traffic stop, we will to identify you. But that's like our last answer, right? That's the last thing we're going to do. We're going to make sure we have all our ducks in a row. That's why Fed cases a lot of times are so tight, because U.S. attorneys won't take them until it's basically solved in their office, right? Because they want that clearance rate.
Right. That's what I was say is that the locals will arrest you and then try and put the case together. But when the feds come in, and by the time they've arrested you, it's over. Like we already have the whole case put together. It's done.
Yeah.
The locals will have like a hunch or a little bit of a case, and then they grab you, and then they threaten to put you in jail for 20 years, and they hope you plea out to, let's get them down to, you pleas out to 5, because we don't really want to go to trial, because we have to put together a case now, and then we have to delay. That's just been my experience with the locals. They don't have the budget and the manpower and the capabilities, and
you grab them and then you develop this case.
Yeah.
So at the local level, the interview is way more crucial than at the federal level, getting that confession, right? Where at like you said, like interviews at the federal level, I'm like, listen, I already know I got it. So It's on you. Like you said, first to the table is first to eat. It's on you if you want to talk. I don't need you to talk.
Yeah, you can go to trial and we'll just crush you.
Yeah. I mean, like, you have the opportunity to talk. It might help you.
Right.
But I could care less if you talk. Let's just talk about it. And if you want to give up the information, cool. If not, all right, man, I'm going to go home after this.
So you're watching these guys.
So we're watching these guys, and I had to manage 2 personality styles for teams, because the ATF task force is like, dude, we're in this neighborhood driving surveillance, and your attack unit is in there heating it up. They're stopping everybody.
Right.
So I learned really quickly, because I had already had a directive from my bosses to involve the attack unit. Right? That's what they do. So make sure they're playing a role. You want to play with the feds? That's all good. It's going to help solve the case. But make sure these guys are eating too. Make sure they have a role in this, all right? Because that's what we pay them to do.
Right.
Okay. So I'm literally making sure that they both have jobs, and I'm having them do jobs in different neighborhoods separate of each other, right? Like, all right, these guys are over here. This person's in charge, and I want you to go work this and heat this up and stop people coming out of the neighborhood, identify people. Over here, I'm going to be with the ATF running that op, and we're going to watch these people that we have already identified, watch what they're doing, right? So like,
But you would think that when these guys are getting stopped and hassled and everything, then there's a series of phone calls to these guys, and you get to watch what these guys do as a result of, they get nervous, they start texting people, they start calling people, they start relocating, throwing things away, burning cars, trying to get rid of evidence. Like, you at least get to watch, and then you get to know all the pieces of everybody that's involved.
If I didn't know better, I would think that you've heard one or two of these stories before.
It's funny. Like, I've done so much when I was locked up and I wrote all these true crime stories. I would order these guys the Freedom of Information Act, and they would come in. And it's like when I said the master affidavit, right? Like I can't tell you how many master affidavits I've read in order to get the wiretap. And then they have to keep going back like every 30 days. They keep going back to the judge. Keep going, yeah, they have to keep going back to the judge. And then these guys would get on the, and so I'm just reading page after page, and the guys, it always killed me. The guys would they get a wiretap for a phone, and then the guys would say, "Hey, I'm getting rid of my phone. Here's my new phone number," and they text them from the phone that is being and they're specifically dropping the phone because they think switching phones is a way to keep from under the radar. Basically, you're saying, "Hey, I think our phones might be tapped, or there might be a wire on it, right? Like they might be listening to our phone calls. So I'm going to dump this phone." And then he texts everybody the new phone number from the old phone, and the guy just picks up and walks to the judge. "Hey, he just got a new phone number. We need that." Okay, and they'll just, it's like the same. You can see the date that it happened, and it's like the next morning they're in front of the judge. Like, this isn't even 24 hours later. This is happening at 6 o'clock at night, and the next morning at 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever, they're getting a new wire for the new call. And it's not like, hey, we have to send stuff to T-Mobile, and that takes 10 days. No, it's instantaneous. And they are listening to it within an hour or two.
They literally
of that.
flick a switch.
Right. They're listening to it all over again.
T-Mobile's law enforcement number, and you present the document, and literally right then they turn it off.
Another thing that was funny is I can't tell you how many times I've also, I probably could, probably 4 or 5 times. So, but where I've been sitting there writing some guy's story, taking notes, and I'm like, okay, well, you got arrested. Okay, and what happened? Oh, well, this happened and this happened. And I go, okay, and I'd say, okay, well, you were selling, rocks to this person, right? And they pulled up, and the cops pulled up, and then you punched it, and you took off, and there was a chaser. But obviously they were waiting for you, and they're like, yeah, no. Yeah, but how were they waiting for you? I don't know. They were there. But obviously you were set up by somebody, and they're like, yeah, but I don't know who, but somebody. Okay, well, somebody set you up. Like, did you get your discovery? Nah, man, I just pled guilty. Like, they got me with the stuff. They recovered the gun. They recovered this. They had us. They had us on tape. And I'm like, okay, well, okay, I was like, I'll figure it out. They're like, what do you mean you'll figure it out? I'm like, well, I want to know how you got hemmed up. Who, somebody set you up. And they're like, how are you going to figure that out? Like, I don't know. I was like, oh, I'm going to order the Freedom of Information Act, and I'm going to order Freedom of Public Records Act for the task force, and for the local county, and for the city, because you're no help to me. You can't even tell me which one of these guys arrested you. You're like, I don't know, it was DEA or something. That was not the DEA. It was ultimately picked up by the DEA.
Like it was a white guy with a mustache. Okay. That narrows it down.
Yeah. These guys don't even look into it. And so I would order it. And the nice thing is that usually the counties are super fast responding.
Yeah.
Right. As opposed to the FBI, which could be 6 months later. It could be, who knows how long.
Could be 18 months.
I was just going to say, it could be 18. I got out of prison and actually got a phone call, of course I'd been in prison, but I got out of prison. I got a phone call after I'd been out like 18 months from the Freedom of Information Act with the FBI. And I was just like, of course I'd been incarcerated when I'd always done this before.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that was a thing. I remember thinking, this is weird. Something's wrong. Like, they were going to call you before. Like, maybe this is normal. You're just not in a position to get a phone call before. Anyway, and it was something 18 months earlier in prison, I'd sent this out. So anyway, the point is I had sent it off to some county that was involved. I got lucky. I just hammered everybody, right? I hit everybody with them. Whoever shows up, shows up. And they came back, and the local police gave me the police records and all of the notes attached to it. So I actually come back to the couple days, whatever, after I got that, like the next day, I went back to these guys in the library where we all kind of met. And I said, hey, by the way, I said, do you know a guy named, John, Robertson? And they're like, and I go, I said, his street name is, Black. And they're like, these were 2 brothers I was writing a story about. They're like, yeah, how do you know that? And I said, okay. I said, so he
robbed a convenience store with this guy. And they're like they know the other guy too. And I'm like, they robbed a convenience store. The other guy, or then your guy, Black, got caught. He spends the night in jail. The next day, he talks to the detectives. I mean, literally, they talk about how they walked. He didn't want to talk in the room. They walk out to like where there's a bench outside, and they sit down at the bench. Yeah. It was a whole thing. This was, extremely detailed. Talks about how this guy doesn't want to go to jail. He says he can give him somebody. He knows the guy's name. It's like Snoop. He can have his aunt call Snoop to get him to sell her some rock. And then he was like, that's the aunt. That's who I did. She called me. And I'm like, right. I lay out the whole thing. I'm like, oh, and they had their phone numbers going back and forth. They pulled everything. They didn't even try and protect the guys, who the guy was.
Yeah.
And so I show them the whole thing. And I remember, so it was like, they stopped and they went, I remember Snoop went, man, you like the police, bro. Like, you got everything. Like, I can't. How? And I was like, I wrote a letter. Like, they have to. They just gave it to you? Yeah, they just gave it to me. It's freedom of public records, of course.
Right.
I'm like, typically, they would redact this guy's name. They'd at least try and protect him. They didn't even try and protect this guy. Now, the feds, everything about it will be blacked out. You can usually figure it out. They'll say something that will make you think, oh, that's Eric.
Oh, yeah, we'll redact the shit out of it.
Yeah, but sometimes there's some, not always. Sometimes you're like, I don't know who this person is, but they said a lot because there's 12 pages of just blacked out lines. And then every once in a while, they'll have like 4 words that mean nothing. But sometimes it'll say something. And you'll be like, oh, that's Amy. I know who that is. That's, But yeah, so that's, I forget how we got there. But we were back to I think the informants.
The phones calling.
Yeah.
Calling each other.
Yeah, the phone call. And I would see that with the phone calls where they would do the master affidavit and they would change phones, because I wrote a book on these kids that they were doctor shopping, and they would change phones, but they would shoot each other their phone numbers. They'd get another master affidavit, and then they'd had all these excerpts. When you write the master affidavit, it's great because some of these guys are really good, like the detectives that write them.
Yeah.
Like it's like, wow, this is like they're pulling excerpts out of some of the phone calls.
Oh, yeah,
we
do that, yeah.
It's great. So it's like you're reading almost like an article. You're like,
it's a skill.
If I was a judge, I'd sign off on it. He definitely into something.
Oh, yeah, we do that too. I would do that. Like, you reference actual text messages of talk about criminal activity, or here's my phone number. You put that in there as proof. And a lot of times you would print out like the screenshot and have it as, an attachment. So
right.
Like, now you really have the proof. Like, that's not getting made up. Here's the actual phone text. Right. But yeah, what you said about heating up the neighborhood and calling exactly what I wanted. Right. And we thought about that too. Like, all right, we're going to have them heat up this neighborhood where so-and-so and so-and-so is, and we're not going to use your terms of like guy named Stomachache and a guy named Little Pistol Starter or something. Right. Like, let's just say that it's John and Mark. Okay. Yeah. And, John and Mark are over here, and, as soon as we stop them, we know they're going to call Luke. Right. Yeah. And like, as sure as shit, like, they get stopped over there. Like, yeah, we just stopped and we identified. All of a sudden, out to the car, gone. We're following him, like rolling surveillance to see where they go. And like, it's like, man, we don't catch the smart ones.
No.
We don't catch the smart ones. But so in that situation, what happened was we kept developing it more and more. And we kept recovering guns like all over the place in different incidents. And it kept coming back to the same group of guys. So I was able to develop enough for a warrant on their house, and that where these 2 guys were living. And, this is kind of like, I hope this works type of situation, right? Like I hoped when we hit that door early that morning with the ATF that there was guns in there, because I'm like, that will seal the deal. If no guns, people might still question this a little bit, because it's he said type stuff,
Yeah.
Like these guys still never been on camera. So we hit the door, and man, sure enough, like, it was like a whew type of moment. There, one of the guns was in one of the guy's closets from the robbery, and I was like, oh man, we got it now. We got it now. And of course, they had a station set up with a computer and all the white cards. They were making fake identities. People's people's IDs and stuff like that. So they were running cards too and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's
they
pretty
they were printing
sophisticated.
cards. So get them in. They both ended up rolling over on each other, which isn't going to do any good at that point. But they confessed and they're like, "Yep, him." And they both ended up going for like got like 8 years and one got 7 years. No, 7 and 6. But
Because they were specifically, did they just end up with the guns, or they were
they were the
involved
ones.
in the?
They're the breaking and entering.
Okay.
But because of their different, one guy had no real record and one guy had like some minors. So they got 6 and 7. And no, it was, when I said 8 is the right time. So it was 6 and 8.
Was this federal?
State time.
Okay.
It was all state case. We ran it all through the state.
Okay.
And the feds were just helping. So we ended up getting them and paying the informant and stuff like that. And like literally most of my cases have been made with the CI. It's not because I'm some amazing investigator, because I find people that have some involvement, and I end up talking it through them and being approachable, being able to talk to them. And so leaving the police department was tough for me. And then going to the feds, because I loved police work. I loved being a detective. I mean, like our chief of police was trying to get me to test for sergeant. I'm like, no interest, because I'll be off the street.
Right.
I won't be doing this stuff. I won't be working. And by the end of my career, I was working gangs, like solely. And I was, because we're assigned to the task force, now we have task force resources. So there's a big caper, like you call the boys, and they come from the task force.
Right.
And so now your investigative force has tripled, right?
Right.
And so like I was getting called in on every homicide, every carjacking, shooting, all that stuff, right? So
Plus, the feds have a bigger budget, and they have more sophisticated equipment.
More sophisticated investigative techniques, that they can use electronically. Like you're talking about wires, right? Like the police department isn't going to do a wire,
Right.
right?
Well, I interviewed the sheriff of Okeechobee County.
Yeah.
On actually Jess's. I wrote an article on Jess on her case.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him, and his whole thing was talking about, because Okeechobee is extremely flat, and the main guy the main guys that were moving the drugs they were like, it's almost impossible to follow. And they're like, you can see for like miles. Mm-hmm. So if you're following these guys, like these are straight roads for miles. There's no hills, nothing. And they're like, it's almost impossible to follow these guys. They said, so at some point they reached out to the feds. They came in. He's like, and they have the ability to track these guys. They can put trackers on the cars. They can track them they can get wiretaps. He's like, they have the manpower. He's like, so what we weren't able to do when the feds come in, he's like, now suddenly, they're like, we can pull over a car, search it, knock you off for a little here, a little there. But these guys could put together the entire conspiracy and shut the thing down. And he said, they have the budget. We don't have the budget to do it.
Right.
So,
and at any given time, I was carrying anywhere from 20 to 40 cases. As a federal agent, it's a busy time if I have 5 that I'm actually working, because they're all complex investigations. They're all have more than one actor. They're all, numerous cell phone records, bank records, subpoenas. Like it's intensive, labor intensive. Whereas as a detective, I would have good cases that I couldn't work because there wasn't enough hours in the day. Right. And my focus had to be here. I had to prioritize what to work. You had to be really, to be a good detective, you had to be really structured about your prioritization on cases. Mm-hmm. And of course, violent crime comes first, on down the line, and you'd get the small stuff too. And if it was handed to you with a bow, like some small property crime, which is significant to you, the person that's the victim. But to us, we don't have time with it unless it's got a bow on it. And then we're like, all right, well, it's all here. Let's just go arrest this guy real quick.
Right.
And then, stat it and move on. We'll have this done this week. Right. So leave the police department, hated leaving the police department, but recognized that there was bigger things on the horizon. So I go to the Secret Service, working in Chicago. I have this significant case, and I'm working protection. And protection was very interesting. There's even as a former Secret Service agent, there's things that we can and cannot talk about, right? Because not only is it, you still technically work for the commander in chief, even as an Office of Inspector General agent, but there's also safety issues that we are not going to discuss because it could put future presidents at risk. You just can't. But I'll tell you what, the personalities are next level.
What on the presidents?
Oh yeah,
or just
presidents
is that
and
just
wives.
that? Yeah, I would say. What about? Aren't you also? Is Secret Service taking care of like if Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State, is that the Secret Service that's watching her at that time?
That would be the State Department.
State Department.
Because State Department does protection. Like you remember, like 13 Hours, the movie on Benghazi.
Yeah,
those are all State Department. The contractors, the guys that were on the rooftop, those were all ex-Special Forces, ex-SEALs, stuff like that. They've been contracted by the CIA for protection. The dignitary, the ambassador that was killed on the September 11th incident, he had a 2-agent detail. So those 2 agents were State Department agents with, typically with like minimal military experience, maybe did like 4 years, then went to, OIG, Office of Inspector General or FBI. They got tired of it, wanted to travel the world, so they're doing this. And you see it in that movie, like the nonchalantness of the agents compared to the, the readiness and preparedness of the contractors who were warfighters.
right.
And the difference, right? And like the freak out factor of the one guys compared to like the level headedness of the others.
Right.
Right. So, so each agency has their own protection details. Like even Congress has Capitol Police.
Okay.
And then they have protection details within the Capitol Police.
So the Secret Service is only go for the president and wives and children?
Yes, president, wives, and children, and then dignitaries that we're assigned to. So, like the Prime Minister of Australia came to the United States. I'm on a detail to protect him.
Okay.
Right?
What about like vice president?
Vice president also. So there's presidential protection detail and vice president protection detail. And when you leave a field office, you kind of split. There's other details out there, but those are the 2 big boys, right? And, the prestigious one is PPD, the Presidential Protection Detail. And then you have the United Nations where we'd go there, and because it's a large scale event, like we would protect presidents and prime ministers from other countries. We'd be there. They'd have their own detail.
Right.
We'd lead it. So we would actually have we got to vet their detail, right?
Okay.
Like, so we get a list of everybody, like down to like what gun they're carrying, right, in country and everything like that. And we have to vet them all. We got to run backgrounds on them because not only is it, the agency in the United States ass, but it's our ass too. But the personalities, like you talk about, I'm not going to name names, right? But you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say it. There'll be like mainstream media will just crucify one president and love another one.
Right.
And when you're behind the curtain with them and they're talking like you're just a chair in the room because you're there all the time, you realize very quickly they're the same person.
Right.
Right? Like one is labeled a misogynist and an egotist and and ruining the world. And the other one is the savior because he's very charismatic and he's a good speaker and he's a great politician and he's doing so much. And you get them together and you're like, man, from my experience being around these guys, this guy is actually worse than this guy.
Right.
They call this guy a racist. This guy's the racist.
Right.
Right. And so you see that and it skews your viewpoint of government. Right. And not skewing like badly because you are literally witnessing what these people are really like and what their real motives are because they're talking to whoever and you're just there protecting them and they're spilling it, and they're talking about stuff that you're just like, this is an awful person.
Right.
But and you got to think about it. I think the president makes $146,000 a year,
Yeah, but
something like that.
these guys aren't.
But yeah, first off, they
That's
don't. First off, they
nothing.
don't
That's
need the
not-
money.
Yeah.
But secondly, they've raised $55 million
Yeah.
for a position that pays 460. It ain't about the money.
Yeah.
It's about the power and the stuff that comes with it afterwards. Like I remember protecting a post president in Chicago who was there for a fundraiser. This president showed up for a meet and greet. He came in and it was all high-end donors. So people that are going to give a lot of money to whatever he's got going on post presidency. And he comes in. And so it's like a wine and cheese party, right? He comes in, talks to him for 20 minutes, walks right back out, gets in the detail cars and leaves.
Right.
$1.7 million later. Right? Something like that, right? And it's literally people getting rich off of a, public servant salary. Right? Like you have Congress people that are making the cap $196,000, I think it is right now, a year, Congress.
But they're making $15 million a year trading stocks. It's like,
right,
really?
or
That
their
seems hard to
their
believe.
wealth and their personal wealth has grown from being broke when they came in to being worth 30 million.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, there's obviously, there's a real issue. I just don't know. I would think it'd be an easy fix, but by the time you get up there, you owe so many favors, and then they have to basically pass these laws to govern themselves, and they don't want to be governed. Neither party wants to be governed, right?
It's like government shutdowns. Government shutdown, I don't get paid.
Right.
Like I'm still a federal agent, right? But the people in Congress that are using it as leverage, they still get paid.
Right.
So what's their incentive to get it back up? They're still getting their paycheck, and most of them don't need this paycheck. They have mystery wineries in California, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
That wineries that don't exist. That in 1 year go from $15,000 profit to $5 million. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Why aren't they on Medicare and Medicaid? How come they don't have the same program and the same retirement?
Right.
benefits?
How come your medical insurance is so amazing, but you're pushing universal health care through the Obamacare,
Yeah.
right, to everybody else? But you have it written in your congressional contract that doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
So it's a hot mess, but you learn real quick that most of these people are the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And you see stuff that you're just like, and after you're gone and you see stuff, you're like, that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
Right? Like we knew who this person was. Like there was a president that was struggling with mental capacity.
Right.
And well, shoot, man, we all knew that a couple of years before he ran.
Yeah.
But nobody's asking us.
Right.
Right. So, do you wonder, like, so how does that guy get into that position if he forgets where he is half the time?
Right. Well, money, and then if the media loves him, then they give him a pass.
And how does the media end up loving him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming they're being funded through, all these things that Doge is shutting down left and right now, or making an attempt to. And
Right.
so
USID and stuff like that.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I would love USID. Like, I'm just asking it for it to be fair. Let's just be fair. Can we just be fair? You know what I mean? Like, let's just have an ID that you have to provide your driver's license in every single state. Your valid driver's license that says you're a citizen, or a citizen card or something just to vote. Something with your photo on it, something that's been vetted. Not I showed up with a birth certificate. I showed up with a driver's license when I think it's 13 or 14 states. Anybody can get a driver's license. You don't have to be a citizen. Anybody can get one. Or you can just show up with a utility bill and vote. Like, come on. You should be a citizen and be able to prove you're a citizen to be able to vote. That seems perfectly reasonable to me.
I mean, you think about all the things that you need an ID to
right.
drive, to buy alcohol, to buy a gun, to buy bullets, to get a loan, all this stuff. But no voter ID.
Have you ever seen, which to me is like the most important thing, but
Right.
did you ever see there's a bunch of TikToks where they go in and they go to these, these college campuses and they ask people if it's racist to ask for IDs. And all of these, they're always like white girls who are always like, yeah, because like in black communities, like it's very hard for them to get ID and it's not normal for them to have ID. And there's just like, they'll interview 6 of them. Then they go into a black community and they stop people, blacks in the community and say, excuse me, do you think it's racist to have require a voter ID? And they'll be like, no, why? What do you mean? They're like, well, do you have a driver's license? Yeah. Well, you understand that most people believe it's difficult for a black person to get an ID. And they're like, well, why would they think that? And they're like, well, I don't know. They think that you have a hard time tracking down your birth certificate, or they're like, that doesn't seem right. They're like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have an ID. And they start having these conversations with all these people, and you realize right away, like, why? Who told these white women in the university that was a thing when it's not a thing? So it's just a way to use it to say that this is a racist, this is a racist policy to ask people to have ID. Everybody's got ID. Everybody has ID.
Right.
Nobody doesn't have ID. Nobody can't not get ID. Trust me, I've had 27 IDs in 7 different states. I've had 22 passports issued by the U.S. State Department. It ain't hard to get ID.
Right.
So,
right. Well, you typically talk about like the college white girls that are saying that stuff. You'll find, and I know you've seen this too, like the people that are screaming you're racist and check your privilege are typically the most racist.
oh, of course.
And they're projecting to you. Like you have Congress people saying we can't deport illegal aliens because who's going to clean our bathrooms?
Yeah, I hate that argument. I hate the argument that we wouldn't be able to, so you're okay to import slavery. You're basically saying, hey, we're importing slavery. But that's because that's what it is. We can pay these people almost nothing because they're non-Americans. It's like you're making an argument for that these are people that you don't have to pay as much, you can take advantage of. And even if, who'd I have on the other day that was saying like, oh, it was Johnny Mitchell. Johnny Mitchell was saying, we argued, I don't think it certainly didn't make it into our video, but we were arguing and he was talking about well, who's going to pick in work in these fields? And I said, Americans will. He goes, no, not for those prices. I said, you're right. We'll pay more. We'll pay double. I said, if you're going to add an extra 20% onto my grapes, I'll pay it because they're Americans. That's why.
Right.
I said, I don't have a problem paying that. I'll pay the extra if we can get these American jobs. They can go back to their country. He's like, oh, you don't think that they should be citizens? I said, no, I do. I want them to be citizens. I want them to go back to their country, and I want them to apply for citizenship, just like the people that applied that became citizens that sat in a not concentration camp, but whatever these camps are, that sat in some camp somewhere and waited 8 years to go through the system to come to the United States, to go to New York and get their green card and become a citizen and eventually get their citizenship. They had to wait 10 years to do that because the system's so clogged up from these people that walked across the border. Like, it's not fair. You're like, oh, well, they're here now. Really? So these people should just rush the place? Like, come on, man. I'm not saying you can't be a citizen. Go back. Do it the right way. I don't even know why we should let anybody into this country that isn't a benefit to the country. You should be a benefit to the country. You should just let somebody in because, and I love it. The other one is that they're fleeing oppression. Really? Because they fled oppression. And then after they become a citizen, they went back to their country 4 times in the last 2 years on vacation.
And took money.
And took money. How oppressed were they? They was a lie to begin with. Like, let's stop. Like, we don't have to let everybody in. It's over. The Statue of Liberty, the whole give me your poor, give me your, disimpoverished or whatever the saying is. Like, okay, it's great. It's catchy.
Yeah.
But it's too much.
Well, you know who hates illegal immigration the most?
But legal immigrants.
Legal immigrants.
That came over and waited 6 or 8 years.
Sometimes 10 to 20.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
And went the right way and did naturalization, stuff like that. You talk to them in investigations or just in general, those are the people that are frustrated the most by the whole illegal immigration thing. You show up in New York City and here's a phone and a debit card and a hotel to stay in.
Right, but you got a veteran who's trying to live off $1,100.
Exactly. Meanwhile, there's veterans that have served our country, been in war, even if they were like the cook,
Yeah,
right, or logistics.
he still put himself in harm's way. He was ready to do it.
Right. They go through with the mindset that this might be what they do, right? And now they're living on the street. But you're renting out entire hotels for whatever it is, like $80,000 a month, whatever, right? Let's just use that 100,000. Let's use the easy number to house illegal immigrants, and then give them a phone and a debit card that's got $1,200 on it a week. And these people that came in here the right way are working in a bodega or whatever, wherever they're at. They're just scratching and clawing to get by and get naturalization and citizenship the correct way. And meanwhile, these people are ushered into the country, and it's just handed to them. That's very frustrating for these people. And I don't blame them, right? Because yes, things change and stuff like that. But like, when did the rules change? Because I know a guy that I work out with sometimes that his work visa lapsed. He couldn't work. He couldn't make a living because it was taking the State Department a long time. Everything was on time on his end.
Right.
Taking a long time to get his paperwork done. So he couldn't work for like 3 months.
Right.
He had no income. What are you going to do when you have a job where you're living paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you coming on? Oh, here's a debit card and phone. Right. So yeah, you see in that position, you see like who's good and who is not as good, who's worse, right? And who's even worse.
During the detail.
During the details, yeah. And what it does is it really drives home how skewed media is, how messed up these people are, and how similar they are. And really, it drives home the point of what politics is supposed to be for the average citizen watching a debate is you not identifying with the person because they're left or they're right, or the media's told you to hate him and the media's told you to love her or whatever, but you identifying with them because of the policies they present to you that they are going to implement when they're in office. And not all of them get it done. That's obvious, right? Like there's only so many hours in a day, and a lot of times they get special interests talks them to go a different way and stuff like that. But where it's broken the most is way broken at the top, right? But the media pushing voters to vote for them just because of this, or just because they're this person and we hate them, instead of listening to them and listening to their policy and what they're going to do when they get in office and what their track record is. Like, Trump, not a politician beforehand, all right? First president I remember, and I'm not super old, I'm 48, but first president I remember that really has bucked the system and just been like, and he makes mistakes. There's stuff he's screwing up on too, no doubt, right? Like there's stuff like, hey, that's a bad move, dude.
Right.
But he's just doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, screw you, I'm just doing it.
Right.
Whereas the other ones are part of a political machine. And so when you look at like somebody like Trump, and I'm not saying that I'm a Trump supporter or not a Trump supporter, I'm looking at the totality of it, right? You look at somebody like Trump and you have to look back at his business acumen, right? Like what he did because he wasn't a politician.
Right.
Then you look at somebody like Obama and you have to look back at his, or Biden and look and see like how many times like he flipped on law enforcement or gun control, right? Like back and forth, back and forth. Like, all right, which one is it, dude? Are you for gun control or are you against it?
Right.
Right. So I think it's from top to bottom, but a lot of it is driven by the media. And when you're behind the scenes, like you see who people are and you see that this person is painted as absolute monster. This person is painted as a savior. And when you listen to him behind the scene, same guy.
Right.
Right. So it's interesting, but the time came to an end. where I needed to leave the Secret Service. I became a single father, and I'm not going to get into that as much because I don't want to bash somebody else on a
Right.
podcast, what their pros and cons are, because we all make mistakes in life. But it was just the kids and I, and for a good period, and
So you can't jump on a plane and
can't
fly
jump on a
to
plane.
California for 2
Right.
weeks.
Right. I can't jump on a plane
Right.
and fly somewhere. I can't be in the south of France
Right.
and leave my kids with like a nanny or an au pair.
Right.
Because if they're in the hospital, well, I'm on a different continent.
Right.
So I had to start looking. And I had played a role when I was with the Secret Service. I was doing some intelligence with cell phones when I was there. And we'll just leave it at that. But I was on an organized crime task force, the Secret Service, assigned out to a PD, and they had a gangster disciple crew that was hiring mail carriers to grab personal information identifiers. So driver's license, credit cards, anything coming through the mail, grab them and then bring them to them. And they were, this was actually a very interesting case because it was the first case that I know of that the wire that you were asking about was for Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
So these guys were not using cell phones; they were using Snapchat. So we had a landmark case. We had to apply for a T3 or a wire for Snapchat, and then figure out how to monitor it, right? Because it wasn't normal cell phone communication with text messages and stuff like that. So I ended up working that with them, and I ended up doing a bunch of cell phone intelligence type stuff to help them out. And I was in a point with the Secret Service where I was on a travel restriction, and my number was up to get moved to DC to go to protection. And so, I'm like, what am I going to do?
Right.
And the special agent in charge of Chicago, great guy. His name was Chris. He pushes through a hardship for me.
Right.
And right at the same time of the hardship, I had been involved in an active shooter situation in Chicagoland, in a town called Aurora. Not Aurora, Colorado. There's active shooter. Aurora, Illinois. There was one too. And he pushes through a hardship. And so that gives me a year. But I know the clock is ticking. So I'm in this shooting. At this active shooter, we're at the police department, and we go through it. It's Friday afternoon. We're getting ready to take off, and then this y'all come call comes over the radio. Like it's basically, and we call it y'all come. Like there's a big, if you're a police officer and somebody gets on the radio and you can hear them fighting, and they're asking for assistance, like 100 miles per hour.
Right.
there,
Everybody
right?
drop everything and come.
Go right now. If you're not in the middle of something, like you would be on a traffic stop doing an arrest, and you'd let them go,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't know if that person's going to live and be alive in 5 minutes.
Right. And you may be the closest person to him.
Correct. So it was a y'all come. Like there was a shooter, a guy. It was called the Henry Pratt plant. It's in Aurora, Illinois, and the employee, he had stated that he was going to, he had told his benchmate, I believe it was a tool and die shop, that if he got fired today, he was going to kill everybody. Well, apparently when they interviewed this guy later on, he said that but I didn't take him seriously. He said that once a week. So
Right.
he was going to kill everybody. If
Right.
somebody pissed him off, he was going to kill him.
Right.
And he would talk about how he was going to, that I just basically blew it off. So he knew he was going to get fired. He came to work that day with a Glock pistol and 3 extra magazines. And so it loaded with 1, 3 more in his pouch, his bib apron. And he gets called up to the boss's office, and the boss, who has an intern there, is his first week, calls him in and fires him, and he kills both of them.
Jesus.
And then he goes out on the floor and he kills 3 more people and injures 1 more. And then he laid in wait to ambush the police. And as the first 5 officers showed up, he shot them all. 1 critically. Lived, but it was critical. So he got shot right here in the hip, And they basically, in police work, if it's one of our own that gets shot, we're not waiting on the ambulance. We're loading you up right now and we're taking you to the hospital. We're
Right.
not wasting any time. We're going to triage you right there and get you in. Well, they didn't put his tourniquet up on high enough and tight enough, and he was bleeding out in the car, and he
Right.
almost died on the way to the hospital. Another one got shot because he had his rifle up, and the rifle got hit, and the optic went into his eye. So they're saying, everybody come, please. So we're the first ones there. And this is kind of leads into a mental health aspect for law enforcement that I think is super important for law enforcement, because it's a network of toughness. Like I'm tougher than that stuff thing. So they go in, we get there, and like you want to talk about like mental. Like a mental situation where I'm about to go into the fire, but I have to multitask because I have 2 little kids that are in school, and I'm parent only at this point.
Right.
They're not going to go anywhere, and I was getting ready to go off to work to go grocery shopping.
Right.
Afterwards, and what happens is, so we go, and on the way there, I am literally calling a mom from my church group, my Bible study, because her daughter's in my daughter's class. I'm like, hey, I can't talk. I just need you to listen. There's an active shooter in Aurora right now. I'm on my way and we're making entry. I need you to pick the kids up from school. I'm getting off. When they get released, they're going to know they're getting released to you. I'm going to get off the phone now. I'll touch base with you later on. And I got to call the school. That was it. Like 30 seconds. On with the school. Hey, can't talk right now. I'm such and such dad. They knew I was in law enforcement. I'm like, I'm on the way to this shooting right now, this active shooter. You're going to release my kids to so-and-so. All right. They have my permission to pick up the kids. And their mom, who lived in a different state, I had to call her too, because what happens if I don't make it out?
Right.
And just let her know. I'm like, hey, such and such on the way.
Right.
All right. Click. Call my boss. Let him know. And always and at this point, these calls are continuing. We've already gotten our orders and a briefing with a map. Like the command there had a map of the plant by that point, saying like, this is what's going on. This is where the shots were. This is where you're going to make entry. And I'm doing all this at the same time. And then we're at the door, and we go in and do what's done. Right. And the threat is eliminated, not by me, but there are flashbangs and shooting going on the whole time and stuff like that. And get out, and I started dealing with PTSD. And I get out that day, and I leave there, and I realize that I still got to go grocery shopping, right? And I'm like, I still got to go get milk and cereal for the kids in the morning because they don't have anything to eat in the morning.
Right.
Right.
So one extreme of adrenaline and
from here to here.
Right.
Right.
To dropping all the way down to just the mundane, got to pick up some milk on my way home.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like literally, I know I'd mentioned this to you earlier when I was giving you a heads up. I walk into a CVS because it's quick and easy, right? I still have to go over to this lady's house and pick up my kids. And, I walk in there and it was literally like the teacher in Charlie Brown and Peanuts. And wah, 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 everything around me. Like, it was like I was in a cloud. There's people shopping by me. I remember like some guy and his girlfriend or wife or whatever were kind of having like a little like disagreement, like right by me about something. I'm just like, it's almost like I'm watching myself.
Right.
Right. And then I leave and I go there. And within 2 weeks, I remember going to my boss, and great guy. This is not reflective on him of like a failure to act. This is reflective on training of what to expect, like, and how to help other people, because there's stuff in place he just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to him and I tell him like, I'm not sleeping. I'm getting like 1 to 2 hours a night, struggling.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. When you're not resting well, everything else feels harder. Your focus, your mood, even your recovery. GhostBed is here to help you fix that. They've spent decades perfecting how to build a bed that's comfortable, durable, and designed to actually help you rest. Every GhostBed mattress features premier materials, proven cooling technology, and their exclusive ProCore layer, a targeted support system that reinforces the center of the mattress where the body is heaviest. It helps keep your spine aligned and your back supported, so you can wake up ready for anything 2026 throws at you. Each mattress comes with a 101 night sleep trial and a 20 to 25 year warranty, so you can try it risk-free, knowing it's built to last. Shipping is fast and free. Most orders arrive in 2 to 5 days. GhostBed has great prices to begin with, up to 50% off comparable brands. And Inside True Crime listeners can get an extra 10% off site-wide for a limited time. Just go to ghostbed.com/Cox and use promo code Cox at checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox, promo code Cox. Upgrade your sleep with GhostBed, the makers of the coolest bed in the world. Some exclusions apply. See site for details.
I can still do my job. I'm not there yet, but I don't want to get there. Like I would really appreciate if I could find somebody to talk to work through this, because I don't want to get to the point where I can't perform my job and, heaven forbid, be a good dad. And he's like, man, Drew, I really don't. I don't know. I don't know what we can do for you. Have you talked to anybody? I'm like, well, I mean, I have a therapist because I'm going through a divorce right now, so I'm dealing with that. He's like, well, I mean, I could get you a chaplain. Do you want a chaplain? Do I want a chaplain? Like, no. I have faith in God. I'm good. I go to church, right? I'm in a church group. I don't need a chaplain to talk to me about faith and, you know, what entails in this situation of faith and how to work through it with God. I need a professional to figure out how to get these out of these situations when I'm living them.
Right.
Like when I'm going back through it.
Yeah. What is the technique that I need to use that's going to help me get through this?
Right. And he's like, I don't know, man. I guess maybe you should talk to your therapist.
Right.
I was like, well,
yeah. I
thanks.
thought, you know, I'm always heard that, you know, there are all these, things that they'll do for you, and they'll get you a therapist, and they'll get you a psychiatrist, and they have all these systems in place for people that are going through PTSD. I mean,
well, it's there. It's just knowing how to direct somebody to it.
Right.
And they didn't, and I didn't. I'd only been with the agency like 2 years at the point. I didn't know the inner workings.
Right.
Right. So I did end up dealing with it through my therapist, and he's not trained in this, but he got me there. Like he got me to a place where it wouldn't affect me anymore. It doesn't affect me now. I can pull myself right out of it. And you know, like we had talked about, is like sensory things, like things that you do with your fingers and stuff like that. Because what I didn't want to happen was I didn't want to get to the point where like I'm starting to snap at my kids, or I start drinking, or you know, heaven forbid, like drug use, right? Like even worse, like now you're going from legal and excess to illegal excess.
Yeah.
Like, so got it figured out.
Well, you're going on the Suffering podcast with Kevin Donaldson. Is it
Yes.
Donaldson?
Yes, Donaldson.
Okay. I'm so glad I remembered that. I was just thinking of Kevin. But yeah, I had he and Mike on the podcast like 3 years ago, maybe when they started, maybe even more. I think maybe when Jess and I went to dinner with them and Mike Dowd. Do you know who Mike Dowd is?
Yeah.
We went to dinner with them, Mike Dowd, and John Alite. John Alite's like a former like mob associate who's killed several people, and he's like I don't know if he's a hitman or what you would call him, but we all went to dinner, and but I've talked to Kevin many times. Actually, has he been back on my? Has he been back? No, I think it was just the one time. But yeah, it's we talked about this, but it always kills me that he and Mike, you know, Kevin and Mike came on, and the whole time, you know, their podcast is like, it's super serious, right? Like it's about suicide and you know,
PTSD and all these things that they've gone through and that former or that law enforcement goes through and getting help and and they were so funny. And the guy Mike they were just busting each other's balls just the whole time. And so you just really kind of feel like these are just two good guys and they're just having fun and they're good and they're trying to do the right thing, but they've got this great sense of humor and everything. And then like a year or so later, Mike one day goes home and just kills himself.
Tragic.
And when I talked to Kevin, Kevin's like, nobody saw it coming. No, like we were supposed to meet like 2 days after that. Like they had a scheduled podcast. He was excited about it. He's talking about doing this. He's talking about this. He's like, we're talking, we're texting, like everything's nobody. No, like the next day he's supposed to do something with like his kids or his wife or whatever it was. It was like literally he's making plans up until he just decides that no, it's over. I'm done.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of Kevin's podcasts, and it's tragic because like he's literally like, we had plans.
Yeah,
like we made plans together.
All right, and just that just to me, and the guy just did not. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is like, well, you see these things where you see these people of guys taking pictures with their kids or doing a barbecue, and they're like, this is the night before, he took his own life. You're like. He's laughing. He's on video, playing, wrestling with his kids, playing with his dog, doing whatever. Looks like the picture of mental health. Got a family, everything, and then, what happened? And Kevin too. It's not like Kevin doesn't know like the signs. He's like, I saw no signs. Like there are no signs. Right. That's the problems. You think, well, he seemed so fine. Like it seemed like, well, were you looking out for the signs? Like what signs? This guy's laughing and joking. He's calling me. We're making plans. Where are the signs?
That's because we suppress it.
Right.
Law enforcement, we suppress it because of the machismo of the position,
Yeah.
So we're like, I can't let anybody know that I'm weak.
Right.
Right. Whereas in reality, being vulnerable makes you more of a man. Right. Like dealing with it and confronting it and having the strength to actually confront it makes you more of a man than the person that is hiding it because they're afraid to handle it. And what happened to Mike and I mean that I'm not gonna Monday morning quarterback anything. That is not especially something like this. But it is absolutely tragic, right? Like here's a person that did good for the community, struggled, was not helped out by his PD, from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
And just internalizing it, starting to drink, internalizing it to the point where he couldn't live with it.
Right.
That in itself is an absolute tragedy because there's so many spots along the way that he could have got help, you could have got him help, anybody could have got him help that could have assisted him work through it, right? And that was not.
Right.
Like you hear Kevin talk about that. Like there's times where he was ready to take his own life, like in his office and stuff like that, because he was struggling so much, and he'll even say this, not thinking about how badly that would screw up his kids when they come in and see daddy with his head blown off in the office, right? Because they're going to hear it. They're in the house.
Yeah.
And come and see that, like how much that's going to mess them up because you're so caught up in yourself that you're rationalizing that of, I don't want to be this burden to them.
Right.
What kind of burden are you going to give them when they see their dad with half a head?
Right.
Right. So yeah, it's tragic, and that's why I'm glad Kevin's given me the opportunity to come on the show because he's been through this. I've been through it. A lot of guys have been through it, and women, and there needs to be a discussion because agencies are getting better, but there's still a lot of people that are unaliving themselves,
right?
Because they're not getting the treatment they deserve. And a lot of times, unlike me or unlike Kevin, they didn't have the strength to go seek it on their own. Like when your department or your agency doesn't do it for you, and then you got to go do it on your own. And a lot of people don't because they don't have that strength.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking.
Go. What do you got?
I was thinking that's funny because you need somebody that you can confide in. When I feel sad or depressed, I just say to Jess, I say I feel sad and depressed, and she goes, rub some fucking dirt on it, So she's not the one. She's not the person to confide in. But yeah, there's somebody out there, I'm sure.
That's funny. But I'm sure, like, if it was like the real deal, she would sit there and talk to you. If you're just being a wimp and not wanting to go on a hike, like you're talking about, like, right? Like you don't want to go up this 5-hour hike up the mountain and a mile in, 2 miles in, you're complaining.
4 miles. Was it 4 or 2?
Poor baby.
No.
Poor baby. Poor baby.
Rub some dirt on it. She's mean.
Well, now you got a ruck, so you can build up that stamina with the extra weight on you, and now next time she takes you on a hike like that, you'll be able to complete it.
I know.
And you only complain half the time. So
I know. Listen, and so let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
So this is Ian Bick's fault. Ian, you told me on the phone, you said, because now you work for is it Frontline Athletic?
Frontline Athletic.
Is that what it is?
I'm still a federal agent, but the business I started is called Frontline Athletic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you had gone on Ian Bick, and you took him for is it a hike or what do you call it? A ruck?
You call it a ruck.
You call it a ruck?
Yeah, you're going for a hike, but you're wearing a backpack with
thing,
weight in it.
which I started noticing. I started noticing people with it. Not like, I don't know if it's been years that people have been doing this, but I only started noticing people wearing these things in our neighborhood like maybe 6 months or a year ago, where I literally started noticing like these people are wearing like weights or something. Or first I thought they were backpacks, and then I was like, no, these are weights. Like these are women with like, they seem small, right? So they're not like a big backpack. And I'm like, why are these people jogging or walking, doing a fast walk? Why is this soccer mom doing a fast walk with a backpack on? Like that's got to be weights, right? So I'm started noticing that a while ago, but paid no attention to it at all. And then when you told me that you had taken Ian on a ruck, and you said, I forget how you said it, but it made it sound, you were like, yeah, Ian said I was the first person to ever go there with him and have him go do a workout before, or was it before
It was right after the show.
Oh, right after the show.
Yeah.
And the way you made it sound was like, and I should do it too. And you said, so I'm asking you if you would like to go on a ruck. And I was like, okay, what? And what is this? And you came back, it's this. It's I have a company. Here's what we do. And you said the whole thing and whatever. So I was like, fuck, now I got to do this. Ian did it. And Ian's in way better shape. And I think I've mentioned this, is that, he's got the glasses and he's got kind of the computer geek kind of thing going, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm not saying anything he hasn't said about himself. And he's got the whole thing. But then when you meet him, like he's over 6 foot tall. He's actually jacked. He's like, he works out all the time.
Crazy.
He's tatted up. So, what you see on camera and what you see in person is two totally different things. Like I wouldn't mess with that.
Oh yeah, on camera he looks like a nerd.
Yeah.
In his videos he does, like when he does quick reels or TikToks, stuff like that, you just see this and he's kind of nerdy looking.
Yeah, but then you see him
and he's like, man, that might be a tussle if we get into it.
Yeah,
right?
there would be a major issue.
He could hold his own.
I feel like Jess and I together could maybe take him together, but not me alone. Anyway. So then you showed up yesterday at my house and brought.
I feel like Jess would be doing all the work.
She would. I'd be there for support. It's important to have support.
I don't know. I heard you complaining about the first mile of a hike, so I can imagine.
It was, first of all, that was in Utah at a lodge. And we were going uphill. She always forgets that it wasn't like a straight walk, like you and I did a straight walk. I did 2 miles with you. This was straight up a mountain. This is going back and forth up a mountain, uphill. It was hard.
That's real hiking.
It was hard.
In Florida, hiking is you're going for a walk in the woods or on a boardwalk, right? That's hiking. Yeah. It's really just a walk.
There's like a gradual hill sometimes.
Yeah.
But, and I took him by the
I took it by both. We didn't see any alligators. Typically, we see at least 2 or 3
I
alligators.
thought I saw an alligator. It was a log.
It's a log. He's like, oh, what? And I say, this is a log, bro. But also, when we see them, we go in the morning, early in the morning, and it's cool out.
They're
and I
out
don't
there
think it was,
sunning themselves.
yeah, I don't know what was happening yesterday. I don't think it was too warm or something. But anyway, so yeah, we went on a ruck yesterday.
Yeah.
And by the time I got back, like my lower back hurt, my thighs felt a little sore, and don't judge me, don't give me that look like that's pathetic.
No, you're
I'm
fine.
an old man.
That's okay.
I'm 57. So, am I 57? I'm 56. I'm 56. I'll be 57 in July. So, we walked. I came back. I took some ibuprofen. I'm fine. Anyway, but yeah, so we did that yesterday. 15 pounds. You gave me. It was what?
Yeah, I gave you 15. I would put 15 pounds in your pack.
He tried to give me like a 25. Well, how much did you say?
I was gonna do 30.
30. I could not.
Because 30 is the standard for men,
I-
and 20 is the standard for women.
Don't tell her that. Don't.
But you start
Don't do
someplace.
that.
You start someplace, right?
And yeah, but and we were talking. So on the way back, like I was at the point where I was like stopping every once in a while. We were talking, and I would stop for a minute and be like, oh, "This is," and it's awkward. It felt awkward because the weight was on the back, so I felt like I was leaning because I'm not used to it.
So that's the difference. And so with our rucks at Frontline, they are built. What it does different, like you'll see a lot of women wear like weighted vests, right? And there'll be some ill-fitting vests off of Amazon they got for $40. One, you can't change the weight. It's a 12-pound or an 18-pound, whatever. It's never going up, never going down. So your body gets used to it. You're not mixing it up. But a vest displaces the weight evenly or distributes it evenly across your body, right? Across your torso. Where a ruck, like what you're experiencing, is high and tight on your back. So without you even trying, the entire time your core is engaged.
Right.
You know, and you're not, and it's not like, oh my gosh, I just did 100 sit-ups. No, it's like, it's the small, like, you know, like 1,000, like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah.
Same type of thing. Like it's just the little small stabilizer movements that strengthens your core because it's sitting up high and tight. And you can change the weight. Like you did 15, it's going to be no time till you're up to 30 because it has a pocket that you put it in.
Well, plus the vest or the rucksack and it's all heavy. Like when you handed it to me and there was no weights in it, that's probably thing's got to be 5 pounds by itself, right?
2.6.
Yeah.
Well, yours is 3 actually because you have the 21 liter, 3 pounds.
3 pounds.
She's like, just like, oh, good Lord. What have I gotten myself in? Right. So, yeah, I mean, the company has been way more successful than I expected at this point. It's 3 years old. Well, now it is. Almost April will be 3 years because I started April of 2023. And I started it because of what we're talking about right now towards the end. And that just was, coincidental transition there. But literally helping people get outside and get healthy because post-COVID pandemic and stuff like that, I've noticed it. I'm sure you've noticed it. More people are just staying inside and Netflix and chilling, right? They're just on the couch, eating junk, getting heavier, wearing sweats all the time. Like that's the new uniform is a hoodie and sweatpants.
Oh, listen, if you go to the movies, like there's like 20% of the people at the movies are wearing pajamas and walking in with a pillow.
And
it's
slippers.
Insane. It's insanity. I'm like, this is nuts.
The same as when you fly.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time, not that long ago, where you got dressed up to go on a flight.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not talking about like there was a time when it was suits and stuff, but even in our lifetime, it wasn't suits, but it's like still you wore your Sunday church clothes to go on a flight because you wanted to look presentable. Now, like I don't know if you've ever had the joy or the tragedy of flying Spirit.
Yes, I have.
Have you witnessed the blanket monsters?
No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe there are people with blankets.
So one time during COVID, I could not get a flight to Florida cheap. And so I had to go the Spirit route. Like I couldn't get it even reasonable. But of course, Spirit was like $80, right? So I get on there and this lady next to me goes, Hey, just so you know, I'm gonna go to sleep right away. Right? I hope I don't fall on your shoulder. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Right? Like that happens. And before they even finished the briefing of like, the safety measures, she had taken this blanket and she'd thrown it up over her head. And she was underneath this blanket. And then I look over and in the corner, I actually took a picture of this. Like this lady comes on with fake Uggs that are bedazzled. And I'm not talking about like a couple rhinestones. I'm talking like the whole thing is Saturday Night Fever glowing, right? And she gets on there, and she's got a queen size blanket, and she throws it over her head. And this blanket is queen size, so it's like out in the aisle. It's like down the aisle. I'm like, what in the hell is going on around here? Like, what is this? What alternate universe am I in right now? And that's flying now. But yeah, so the company was started basically to help people get outside and get healthy at a reasonable price point, right? Like because some of the equipment out there for rucking is absurdly expensive, whether they're selling it off of a name recognition or just jacking up the price because they're the only show in town. So what I did was I basically saw a hole in it. No pun intended. and he's like this guy, this guy. So I literally I was like, there was a pandemic, but this is epidemic levels now. Like we got to get people outside, start getting them healthy and active. Right? We need to start building a community of all different walks of life of people that we can help them get outside and get active and have some level of fitness and health so they live past 50 years old.
Right.
Right. And so ended up building out these rucks, designing them, finding a manufacturer to partner with and stuff like that, and giving them, working through my designs with them so we can start building it. Cause I don't have a manufacturing shop. So you have to work through a manufacturing contract it. And then, so my goal was to make it at a price that is affordable for people but also offer a lifetime warranty. So you can rely and you can feel comfortable and rely in it and know that no matter what, we have your back. And so we started producing them in 2023 and 2024. We didn't produce them yet. We were testing them and doing samples. And I did a test run of 200. And bro, like I knew I was onto something at this point because no marketing, all just word of mouth, grassroots, bootstrapping it, going around to different workouts, showing it to people, a little bit of social media. And in 2 months I sold 200.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm onto something. But that was the ultimate testing and evaluation because when I was doing the prototypes, you got like 3, right? But now I have 200 out there and people were buying it. And we didn't have a warranty on the yet. I just told everybody, like, listen, no warranty, but I'll stand behind the product. Right? So basically there's a warranty without slapping a warranty
right
on it. Right. And so so that created visibility, raised capital because this is bootstrapping. It's all out of pocket. There's no investors, and started production. And it took the information that could improve it to production. May launched our actual production line, and end of May, last week in May, 2.5 months sold out, 500 units now. And I knew that I could not afford, because it was all out of pocket. I couldn't afford at that point to start production before I was out of stock because I didn't have the money.
Right.
Right. It was money in, money right back out, typically more than what was coming in. Right. So I did that, and that actually created a demand for the supply, right? Because people are asking, when are you going to be in stock? When are you in stock? My buddy's got one of these. So, but then I still, instead of maximizing profit and waiting a year to make changes like a lot of manufacturers and sellers do, people talked about like issues they had. And so I changed them right there. I was like, all right, there's 1.0, which was the prototype version, the 200. there's 2.0 and now 3.0 that we are, and 3.0 is just internal, nothing's labeled that way, right? That now we've got the answers. And what I did when you talk about all these women walking around and like, oh, sorry, just bumped that. And what I did was in seeing all these women walking around like you're talking about, like with ill-fitting vests on and stuff like that, but it's becoming very trendy and they're out walking their dog and whatnot, is I looked around the industry and I saw that nobody has designed a vest or a ruck for women specifically, right? Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but their anatomy is a lot different than ours, right?
Yeah, it took a little bit, but I was like, yeah.
I mean, like Jess may say that you don't really notice.
Jess would say
that you're unaware, but newsflash, I don't care what side of the fence you're on for politicians and what news channel you listen to, they're all going to agree to some degree,
right,
that women have different anatomies than men.
Yeah.
Okay. So I started getting with a couple. I was very fortunate through an agreement that I have with with an obstacle course racing company, and that I've built relationships with some world-class athletes, and that I work with them exclusively as a result. And so I went to these women and I said, here's my ideas, but I can't speak for what fits a woman comfortably. Let's go through this stuff and pick what you think is comfortable. And so they went and we literally, I put together samples, designed them, stitched, we got them all stitched together and things like that, and tried different versions. And then we're like, I like this. They were like, I like this. I like this. We need to change this. I'm one woman is like, I'm the world record holder in this rucking event. And she's not talking like that. I'm talking like that. She's very humble. But she's like, I don't want my ruck to weigh more than 20 pounds because that's the standard for women. I don't want it to be 22 or 23 pounds. I need to be able to put this type of weight in there. All right. So we built a special pocket in there just for what she was asking for. Right. Like the world record holder asks you to do this.
Right.
You better fucking do
Right.
it. Right. Right. Like they didn't get there by chance. Like they're the best for a reason. Right. And so we built this out and the reviews are next level because nobody's done it. Nobody's done this for women with the cut, the size, the specifications, the dimensions that takes it off of their shoulders and puts it on their upper back. Like I know people that, there's one woman, for example, and like, yes, we had world-class athletes test this stuff, but I'm not a world-class athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Jess, I don't know you that well, but I'm guessing you're not a world-class athlete. Right? You may have played some sports, but you're not a world-class athlete, clearly. You just complained about hiking a mile.
2 miles.
2 miles. I'm sorry. I didn't give you enough credit. 2 miles. But what we did was I put it on regular people, too, that just go out for a walk. And I had one person that had tried everything, tried like the weighted vests, but she had a neck injury. Tried the weighted vest, tried another brand's ruck, everything within 15 minutes. It's off, and whoever she's walking with is carrying it for her. Right. So I gave her our ruck to test it. And the first time she tried it, she rucked for 2 hours and was gushing about how comfortable it was because of the slip disc in her neck and how that affects her shoulders and the load on her shoulders as a result. And that's the winner. Like the pro athlete or semi-pro athlete or whatever they're considered, right? It works for you when you're running an event for an hour. But the mom walking her dog or taking her kids in the stroller and wants to put the weight on and can do it now for an hour, that's our winner.
Right. What's the benefit to that as opposed to just walking?
So that's a great question. And what rucking does, like when you and I did it, I was watching my watch yesterday. Like I ran it because I told you like we were getting done. I was like, hey, can we go 2 more minutes? I want to have 45 flat.
Right.
So it'll increase your heart rate. So a lot of times when people are training for different races or for a good cardiovascular compared to like weight loss and stuff like that, they will run hard and fast, and then they'll do what's called the zone 2 run, which is basically they're just, for lack of better terms, they're moseying around. Like they're just, they may run like an 8-minute mile for 6 miles, and then that day they're running a 10-minute mile, just to get their heart rate up enough to burn fat.
Right.
Right? Because the high impact cardio, you're not burning fat, right? You're losing fluids, and it's all cardiovascular. It's heart strength. Whereas this, what it does, the ruck with the weight on your back, it automatically launches you into that zone 2. So going for a walk is great. Like I still do it. I'll take the dog out, but I throw on a ruck, and now my resting heart rate, which is low, it's like 59 to 61, right? Is my resting heart rate. I'm up over 100. I'm like 100 to 110. And I'm in that sweet spot of the zone 2. And all I am is walking briskly. Like you saw, like yesterday, like we just had a nice clip going, but we weren't running. We weren't even jogging. We were just walking quickly, talking. We talked. Nobody was out of breath, right? Well, you might have been.
Towards the end, I was a little bit, wasn't like breathing hard, but my whole body was exhausted. Not like a normal walk. I was like, my body was tired. Like, normally if we go for a walk, we get back, I can jump in the shower and, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fine. Perfectly. But by the time I got back that time, like in my whole body, I was like a little tired.
Yeah. But to get you up into that zone 2, where you're actually actively burning fat, and you'll see that like your legs and your core will get stronger because of the non-distribution it's on your back, and then the walking with you got extra 20, 30 pounds on you, or 15 pounds even, but you can mix it up, whereas these vests are like 12 and 18 pounds. And the goal of doing all this is the mission statement of our company. And when I say us, I'm really talking about me, because it's small business, right? But the mission statement of our company is to help people get outside, get active, and get healthy, and build a community as a result of it. Like all different walks of life, our ambassadors and content creators, all different walks of life, but they're all in a channel and they're all cheering each other on. And that's what we're trying to build, is a community of, you're a completely different guy than me, but we can go out for a walk and we're on the same page, right? Because we're just chatting. Same with like Jess. Like if we were out for a walk, or if you guys were out for a walk, like it's building community thing, right? And that's the thing. So the mission is building community of healthy people that are getting off the couch. The vehicle is the equipment. And obviously, yes, equipment gets monetized, but that's the vehicle that you have to drive to build this community to get people outside and healthy.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, if you want to go to Drew's company, Frontline Athletic, go in the description box, and we're going to leave the website. You can go there and you can order rucks and gear. Also, you can go to his social media, which is predominantly, it's going to be Instagram. You can go there, and you could also check out the Instagram and message him. Once again, I appreciate you guys watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and thank you very much. See ya.